Hello, everybody! If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Painter Man Extraordinaire, Tyler. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, man. Good to be here. Good to see everybody.
It's good to have you. We're going to be undoubtedly just talking about... This is going to become a hobby-focused show. We're only talking painting from here on out. This is the last regular show, everybody. So look forward to that. Also joining us, we missed him last time, so we got him on the swing back. Jack, the one, the only from Rerolling Ones. What's up, brother?
Hey, thank you for having me on, and I'm glad you were able to have John, and Bear on, and they did a great job. I was a little nervous for them because it can be intimidating, but you guys hit it out of the park. And I just, it was I didn't want to talk about Crow Boys, so it was actually a ruse. I didn't know anything about them. So no, but they did a great job. So I was very happy for them.
It was wonderful. They were great, and I've been very much enjoying the battle reports that they've been in. A lot of fun. I watched James. Bear's name is easy to remember. James, right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, thank you. I watched James play Skaven against Shu, and that about broke my brain. I couldn't handle it.
Okay, I want to tell you the story behind that one. That was a impromptu, because I had a family emergency that week. It was the reason why I couldn't be on Warhammer Weekly as well. And so we were just not going to put something out. And they, unbeknownst to me, they're like, "Hey, we want to keep the streak going because you kind of did a little."
You're back on it, man.
The channel, and like they did it, and it was one of those things like, "Ooh, hey, I appreciate what you did. I really appreciate it, but read the rules a little bit more thorough when you play." But yeah, it was I appreciate what they did. It was a lot of it, but I got a couple things. It was it was one of those like fan fiction games. It was narrative.
Sure, absolutely. It's just a narrative game. Yeah.
Narrative.
No, it was super fun to watch as always, and I love watching Skaven kill Sylvaneth. It's one of my favorite things in the world, so it was certainly enjoyable. But yes, when you're a Skaven player who's played like 100, 200 games of Skaven since the book came out, you're just like. But anyways.
I think every Sylvaneth player would love to strike and fade in both turns. That would be amazing.
Jack, it's just not good enough right now. Strike and fade, it's just not good enough.
We gotta bump it up. Got to pump it up.
Shu gets he gets some handicaps when you play him.
That's fair.
There you go.
Given his rolling, it's probably essential. But at any rate, it's good. It's great stuff. Rerolling One's channel will be linked below. You guys have been putting out a lot of great battle reports. I really do recommend them. All the games are really fun to watch. You got a bunch of great people on there. So I'm very glad to see it back. But of course, tonight we're going to be talking about something that I think Shu actually might have mentioned in that Skaven Sylvaneth report, which is like he was frustrated with the complexity, with the choices. He had analysis paralysis. And he was like, if only there was a better way. Well, Shu, we're here for you tonight. So this whole show is just dedicated to him. But we're going to be talking about a starter battle pack, a simpler battle pack, another way that we could make this to reduce some of the complexity of AoS 3.0. But first, of course, the news. Tyler, what do we got?
I'm convinced we do need to start a school of dice rolling. And for people like Shu, watching all of these battles, I'm convinced that there are people who just don't know how to roll dice. They consistently roll terrible. And Shu would get free entry to the school. Just free admission. That man needs some help. Rumor Engine. I have no idea what this is. Sisters of Battle, maybe. Dawnbringer Crusades.
First of
it's
all,
a wonderful one.
Two things. Your voice echoes Tyler for some reason, and now me a little bit. We tested it beforehand. It wasn't. Yeah, Jack. So you might want to turn your gain down just a little bit. That should clear it out because it's just barely picking it up. We were having some tech troubles we were resolving beforehand, and we thought we killed it. But of course, yeah, good. You're great now. No issues. First of all, I don't care about this rumor engine. This is a terrible rumor engine. This is nothing. This is nothing. Next. Like, I'm not even debating it. It's nothing. This is a tooth on a rope or something. It's nothing.
Arcane Cataclysm, Lumineth, and Tzeentch. Double down on the Magic Dom era that we're in right now. Pre-order this Saturday. So, yeah.
Jack, as our resident Lumineth expert, okay, and player, you excited to get your new book, your new rules? You excited for the changes coming to your army?
Yeah, like because I was really enjoying winning with Lumineth before Stormcast came out, and there's a little more play there now with this magic heavy kind of meta we're doing.
Sure.
But I don't know what they've shown on the website. I haven't looked at it in a while, so I don't know exactly what I can talk about from this box. But there is definitely some changes.
this coming Saturday.
Yes, this Saturday we'll be able to see. But I definitely excited to you want to be able to play your beautiful models. You can always play them, but you want to sometimes if you're definitely a competitive player, you want to be able to compete at a high level with your beautiful models. And I'm hoping that they'll definitely I'll be able to dust them off because they're the army I had commission painted. I'm definitely a commission painting brother here. So people they got to eat, they got to feed their kids, they need to get that money from somewhere. And so I would definitely love to get my Lumineth back out there and play them, but I am excited. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited that I'm really excited to see that new Zinch book whenever it comes. I will say I'm not excited to see Zinch. Hopefully they get rid of Destiny dice, and then I'll be fine. My honest answer is I don't care if they keep Destiny dice, just unclutter everything else. Like Destiny dice is a super powerful mechanic. It could stay on its own and it could be fine. The problem is then they stacked all this other nonsense on top of it, right? Like it's got the Lucas and it's got their agendas and it's got like all these things, and I get what they were going for. It just needs a complete just swipe a bunch of stuff off the table. We get it, it's cheater the army, which is fine. Like I don't mean that in any insulting way. I mean that like that's literally its point. It's cheating fate, right? That's its thematic thing. But if it gets the Nurgle treatment, I would be very excited because I would feel like we really got a thematic Zinch book. I'd love to see these little dubers on the table here in this picture. All your little Arcanite guys actually feel like I want to put some of those on the table. That'd be exciting. I'd like to feel like I want to put my regular Zangor, speaking of other people, on the table again. So like just that kind of stuff. That's a tall order in the era of Galatian veterans probably, where those things all die instantly to bounty hunters. But if they have a good foundation of rules, we will eventually we'll exit the bounty hunter meta before that, and still have the book. So I'm just looking for a good solid foundation. So we'll see. They could not print anything in that Lumineth book that would make me care about that army. So I'm excited about that. All right, what's next?
All right, let's see. I wasn't familiar with this. Warhammer Plus miniatures, oldest rumor engine.
Yes, my friend.
What we got here?
Okay, read the number that's in the news, Tyler. Because there's
2
a number.
years, 5 months, 3 days.
That is correct. The staff of this lady, I think it's a lady, this Chaos caster, the staff, that Chaos icon skull was the oldest existing rumor engine. So when we learned what it was, it had been 2 years. What did I say? Is it 8 months and 3 days? Is that right? Or 5 months and 3 days? Which one is it?
5 months, 3 days.
There we go. Thank you to Warboss Kurgan for that number. I did not do that calculation. Warboss Kurgan did that calculation. Keeper of the rumor engines. Yep. So this is awesome. I love this. Mibilor Darkfang, Chaos Sorceress, and her little friends. All the little familiars, yes, are back. Yeah, it's great. Fantastic. By the way, there are still 2 rumor engines from 2020 unsolved. From 2020, like early pandemic rumor engines still unsolved. So I'm just saying, it was it's wild how old some of these are. There's quite a few from 2021. That's not even a question. Many rumor engines more than a year old. So they must be sitting on a ridiculous backlog. But this girl's great. You can get her when you sub to Warhammer Plus. I mean, I won't, but it's a nice offer. I'll probably try to get the model at some point just to paint it because I think she is awesome. But her and the Chaos Terminator for 40K are the other ones. I don't have a picture of him. He is incredible. It's based on a piece of art. And it's a beautiful piece of art, and it's a beautiful mini.
I'd love to know who painted that Terminator. That's just insane.
Oh, the mini itself.
This. Yeah. Definitely, I'm picking this one. I get Warhammer Plus. I've never watched any of the shows. I just do it for the app, the workshop. I'll spend hours in my bed making lists and stuff. But the top 2 familiars really hit me right in the childhood. because those two, like, I remember having both of those and just
Yep.
seeing them updated with like modern sculptors and modern painters. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, totally. I remember early AoS when you would see the old version of this on the table pretty frequently, because there was lists that would run like the old Chaos Sorcerer with the Chaos Familiars quite consistently. So, and then they obviously went away, but now they're back, like all good things. So yes, I agree. Little Chaos Warrior is maybe my favorite thing of all time. Like, I love Little Chaos Warrior. He is adorable. Okay, what's next?
All right, the future of Warcry. They had an article come out this week on the roadmap. So they confirmed that we're getting, let's see, 3 more little expansions here every 3 months, I believe, is
one
what
a
they
quarter.
said. Each box set will have 2 new warbands.
Completely
I'm
new.
excited about this.
Completely new, and not just
completely new.
Chaos.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, I think as of right now, we've only got Daughters of Cain from that the set from not too while ago. And I have to say, so they sent us Warcry. Usually we just cover Age of Sigmar, and occasionally they'll like send them some stuff to cover. But I hadn't played Warcry since it came out.
Sure.
And so we actually played Warcry on the channel just to put more stuff out there. And that game is a lot of fun.
Isn't it though?
I usually
it really
only
is.
look at Underworlds. Yeah, I only look at Underworlds or Warcry stuff as what it can do to AoS. Like, just tell me what are the rules.
Right.
But after playing it, I'm like, that was a lot of fun. I would like to play that again.
Yeah, Warcry is actually, it's like, and the newest sort of version that came with Heart of Gur isn't really that big of a change from the last version. They just like kind of fixed up some little bit of wonky stuff, rebalanced the warbands, and like basically they added, but it's like you could play it not having read the book and be mostly right. Yeah. You would just need to understand what the reactions are, because it's the only new thing. And it's like, it's really good. And I'm excited that we're getting new, we had kind of speculated when they released the map and showed all the different camps from all the different armies that maybe we would actually get new boxes, new Warcry releases of all of these different groups. And now it seems like that might actually come to pass. So what this tells me, them being this confident to release this roadmap, new warbands, like non-chaos, new terrain in every box to expand, all that kind of stuff. This tells me that this is not stuck on a boat somewhere. So there is like a warehouse in the UK where they have just all these boxes already waiting to go, and they are confident they will be able to ship these out. Because otherwise they would have never put out such a bold statement of like, once a quarter from here on in, here you go. So that's cool. It's good stuff. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see it. Let's quick round the horn guess. Sundered Fate, Jack. Who's in Sundered Fate? What 2 warbands?
I know there was they kind of had the people guessing, and they did have the Seraphon.
Yeah, they had a little skinker-do in there. Yeah,
skink there, and so I don't know if I'd put Seraphon. We'll go Seraphon and Tzeentch.
There you go. Fate. Absolutely. That we know Tzeentch has a presence in there. They have a place on the map. So, all right, I'm buying that. Seraphon and Tzeentch, that's our first one. Tyler, Blood Hunt. Who's in the second one?
So, obviously, Khorne. Didn't we get a little preview of a Khorne warband model?
It was for Underworlds, but there's no reason they couldn't also have Warcry. I mean, just be fine.
All right, so Khorne and Hunt. Beast of Chaos? That'd be kind of weird. I don't know. Khorne, Beast of Chaos.
Khorne and Beast of Chaos. There you go. The call has been made. So that would be our Chaos on Chaos box set, right?
Sure.
There you had an order on Chaos. We're not hitting any destruction ones here at all. Okay,
yeah.
And I'll take Nightmare Quest. Nightmare Quest to me, that's I want to see like cities and Soulblight Gravelords. Classic battle of undead humans versus the city humans, right? You get some witch hunter action in there. Like you're on a quest, regular humans go on quests. It's a very common sort of thing. And then Nightmare just says, yeah, we're gonna do some Soulblight or something like that, right? So there you go. Oh, Inquisitors says, by the way, Blood Hunt should be Khorne and Sylvaneth.
Okay.
Hunt. So, which I would be
That?
fully supportive of.
Oh, got the
There we go.
Kurnothi out there. It was Underworlds, not
I mean, they
Warcry.
are hunters. The Kurnoth do hunt. That's a thing. So yeah, there we go. I can't wait to see what's in them. I'm excited for it. While we're talking about Warcry, do we want to talk about the little kerfuffle today?
Yeah.
Hit like for kerfuffles. Hit like if you're excited about this Warcry expansion. Just hit like if you're not. I don't care. Please just hit the button. It helps other people find the show. But earlier today, we got this like accident. They put out the Age of Sigmar War Scrolls for the Rotmire Creed and the Chaos Legionnaires or whatever they're called. I don't remember, something like that. I think that's right. And the quest had the quest. I'm reading this thing on screen, and the stats clearly had the printed stats of the Centurion Marshal or whatever, the what is it, the Centaur guy. And so you had this unit came for 110 points. It was 8 guys with 4 attacks each on 3s, neg 1, 2 damage. And everybody was like, oh my god. Everybody lost their mind immediately. I saw it proliferating around all, Facebook and such when I read that and went, oh, cool, they put up the wrong war scroll.
But you can't let a GW mistake go by without mockery. You have to stand on it. I really so James and we split up. I got the Hashut guys and he had the Rotmire Creed or whatever. And looking at the rules, I wish we got the switch. Because I think like a cheap battle line, those guys being battle line and Nurgle, I think is really cool.
I agree. Yeah. They also have a shooting attack. Like each one of those little dubers makes 2 shots. And so even though they could be on like nothing, I don't care. They can be on 5s and 5s, like they can be goblin shooters. I'd still think they're worth it because that's just a lot of chances for disease dice. And shooting disease dice.
And I think there's a rule like if you're within 3, they get disease too, like so it can spread out. Yeah, and those guys are really nice. And I'm looking at my Hashut guys. Like, why can't you do more?
125 points. Yeah, I think you're right, Jack. That they definitely have a spot, right? Because Plague Bearer is 150. I mean, that's your go-to battle line, unless you're running Black Kings, Blight Lords, whatever. But generally, the base. So yeah, and battle line and Blessed Suns, so it makes Blessed Suns a little more interesting. No, I think they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. They were actually the standout to me. The actual Legionnaires, once they printed like the real stats, were like, meh. Who cares? But that's fine. Medium infantry. Somebody needs to like pass the word up to the GW mothership that medium infantry isn't a thing in AoS. There's no such thing as medium infantry. You're either chaff or elite infantry. There is no in between. Those are the 2 useful things. Medium infantry is bin tier instantly. Like that doesn't have a role or a purpose. Okay. So, anyways. Yeah, that's the news. I think we're good. Anything else?
Yeah, that's all news.
That's about it.
I think there's some really cool tournaments coming up. We got NashCon, Nova, and of course the Emerald City Open, which is going to be next weekend. If anybody's in the Pacific Northwest, I think there's a couple more tickets left.
There you go. Where is that at in the Pacific Northwest, Jack?
It is in Puyallup, which is like a suburb of like Tacoma. It's like, which is suburb of Seattle. So
there you go. It's a suburb of a suburb, but yes, it's in in that greater metro area there, right?
Yeah. You can stay at my house. Just hit me up. I'll
sure.
Carpool down there.
Excellent. Yes. Excited for NashCon this weekend. Hope to see some people down there. Tyler's going to be there. We're going to have the whole Warhammer Weekly crew down there. I'm sad I can't make it up to the Pacific for your event, Jack. I would love to, but there's not a way that would happen. But then I will be at Nova the weekend after that, so it's going to be a good time. This is a very, very busy time of year, I guess, for me. My last thing I'll say as we transition from the news to hobby time is, hey, listen, everybody. Okay, listen. Is this just you and us now? All right. If you're not following me on Twitter, you may want to do that before Friday. I'm not trying to like get Twitter followers. I'm just saying, starting Friday, there may be some things that go up on my Twitter, maybe once a day, maybe that might point to things that are happening very soon. Things that you may be interested in or may not. I don't know, but you won't know unless you follow me. So check it out. It's at Warhammer Weekly. It's right up there in the corner. Look at it. at any rate, yeah, some things might be coming soon. Okay, so let's talk hobby time. Jack, hobby time. What's on your table, buddy? What are you
You're going out of order, Vince. You're going out of order.
Oh, wait, sorry. Hold on. You're right. I got confused because I said pick of the week earlier. Let's do pick of the week. I'm sorry, everybody. 1,000 shows and I still can't get it right. Jack, what's your pick of the week you want to share with everybody? I apologize.
Being that we're going to try to put out a lot more content, we're trying to get outside of our comfort zone, and that means is painting as well. So we're collaborating with a local Northwest artist. She's Paint Chantress on Instagram. Her name's Kelsey. She's a great, lovely woman. I've known her for a few years now. Incredible painter. And so what we did with, Zinch on the horizon, we got a wheel of kind of like destiny. And so we put all kind of different ways to paint, and we spun the wheel. And I ended up getting oil paints, which is something I've never done before. I have a buddy of mine who's really into it. And so we're all painting a Ogroid thaumaturge. So we're trying to, we've filmed the video. We're in the middle of painting it, but we're gonna we want people to watch us as we put the content out and put the model out there. And so that is what's going on. So it's her Instagram. It's Paint Chantress, and so go check her out. And she has and she's not GW agnostic or whatever. She branches out and does all these cool things. And so I think Shu got Care Bear. So he has to paint an Ogroid thaumaturge like a Care Bear. She got Found in the Woods and Raised by Elves. And I think my buddy Bear, he got Horror. And then we got, so it's going to be very interesting and just get us out of our comfort zone. And just show that we're, it's going to be fun. So go check her out and check us out.
Very nice. That was like a combo hobby time / pick of the week. You really hit both of those all at once smoothly. That was a pro strat there, Jack, I have to say. Tyler, what's your pick of the week?
Pick of the week. I've got two. So one relevant to tonight's topic. George Sutherland Howard. He was inspired by a chat that Rob had a while back on a Sword Gamer around a similar topic we're covering tonight. So George put together what he called the Casuals Handbook 2022, which I love that name. And so it's his attempt at creating a handbook for more casual play. So we'll probably be referencing some of the ideas. I wanted to look and see what was out there in the community so far, and I came across that today. So thank you, George, for that awesome work. We've got a link to it. And then we mentioned Vince earlier. I wanted to mention Takeover Mars on Twitter. He reached out to me. He's got an event going on in your neck of the woods, Vince.
Yep.
Brunswick, Ohio, November 12th through 13th. 2-list format, 2,000 points, 2 days. If you're in the area, Ohio, check it out. I think this might be his first event.
It is, it is.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
He's very excited about it. I've been talking to him about it. I think it's going to be a great event. He's a real good dude. I think he managed to pick the weekend. I literally have to go to a wedding, so that was real. That was great. But that's fine. Such is life, I suppose. But I think it's going to be an awesome event, and if people are around the Ohio area, you should check it out. My pick of the week is very simple. Our good buddy Heywo Twitch put out maybe the most important video in the history of AoS this week. A quiet, thoughtful meditation on the nature of. There you go. We got a little hats off.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
There it's nice.
That's how much I like Heywo Twitch. I went and made merch for him.
It's pretty good. About the conflict, the challenge between getting good and enjoying what you want to play and things like that, and what does it mean? And it's a very philosophical video. I enjoyed it greatly. It's linked down below. Check it out. As usual, Heywo proves himself a master of content creation. All right. Now, let's turn to hobby time. There we go. I was getting ahead of myself. I'm used to saying all of those words once, and since I'd already accidentally said it, yes. Oh, don't worry, Adam. We talked about New Warcry. Yes. Okay. So, Jack, you already talked about some of your hobby. Is that what you're working on? Are you deep in oil paint territory, or there's other things as well?
Not quite. So with Emerald City Open coming up next week, I'm kind of doing some last minute painting for that. So I put a poll out to ask the followers on Twitter if I should play Daughters of Cain or Corn for this, because I kind of, you only have so much like bandwidth, and so with the kind of the relaunch of the channel, that's been my focus. Like competitive stuff in tournaments is just on the back burner. I'm not even thinking about it. But this is a club I'm part of, Victoria's Secret. We're putting this on, so I kind of have to get in on it. And so I was either going to be Corn or Daughters of Cain, and Corn ran away with it. And I was painting up my Corn, and I got a game in with my daughters, and I was like, but I really want to play this. I really, whatever it is the Kraith does when a Sisters of Slaughter can fight again on a 4-up, that is my love language. There's
Chuck Moore has won another one. He's won another one over, the Cult of Kraith.
Yeah. There's splitting attacks, there's gambling, there's so much depends on me getting this dice roll. And whatever that is, I like. And so I end up going into the Kraith. And so I, shout out to my boy Tyler, hit up my commission painter, the paint smithy, sent him some Sisters of Slaughter and a few gladiatrixes. But, it is a competitive tournament. So I am painting up this guy.
It is.
Here.
Yep.
So doing my cons plan.
Cheater.
And thank you to Brent, even though he backed away from the channel. He asked him, hey, you still got that crime span sitting on your desk that you got from the channel? Let me get that back real quick. And he said it was too good for him anyway. So I'm putting this guy up. And this is what I'm working on.
That's great. It's too good for him. Yeah, he's got to get rid of that thing. Okay. Very nice. Tyler, what have you been painting, buddy?
First time in the history of the show I can actually answer
I'm
this
just going
question.
Straight into the question because I already know you actually have painting stuff now. You're in the mix.
Yeah, Jack, it's appropriate that we have you on. First time painting.
Yeah.
Our whole commission history. Yeah. Jack, I've painted 2 plague drones.
I've seen the pictures. They look great.
Just being nice. You can tell me they look like crap. It's fine.
They look great, Tyler. And here's the thing. They were always going to be great because all painted models are better than unpainted models. See
That's
how
true.
easy that is?
That's true.
It's
yeah.
that easy. But you're mixing up the slap chop. You're getting it moving. The contrast has changed your life.
Jesus. I'm not the first to say, but this stuff is wild. Like what you can do with contrast paints. I didn't appreciate how easy it is to at least have your stuff not look terrible. That's the bar. Don't look terrible.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm glad we finally wore you down. It only took 7 years, but I am a determined person, Tyler, as you've seen. I never gave up hope. Okay, I always believed, and I'm like Morpheus now, and I watched you jump across that building, and it's like, what is he doing? He's beginning to believe. So there you go. My hobby time. All right, Jack, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you want to be, what do you want first? Cool or uncomfortable? What should I share
cool.
first? Cool, okay. So I have 2 big guys. I haven't started on them yet. They're just primed up. But here's the first one. This is one of my new Vermin Lords. This is from Clay Beast Creations. This is my new Vermin Lord Deceiver. Look at this guy. This dude awesome, just leaping out of there. He's got another big cloak that I had to leave off separate.
That is very cool.
All right. That was fantastic.
Such an incredible sculpt.
Yeah, he did. It's so much fun. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with him yet, but I got some time to think about it. So now that we've all seen the cool guy, let's go ahead and I'll be uncomfortable because my other Vermin Lord is this lady right here. So, you can all just... There it is. I mean, I think offered without any commentary. This is my new Warp Seer. By the way, for a size comparison here, just let's go ahead and show this. That's how big he is compared to her.
Oh
she's a big lady. Okay.
That's not even lore friendly though. They're supposed to be like big group mothers.
Oh, I mean, she's got the little ball from the Warp Seer, so I think we're good. That's all that's important. We're in. So she's gonna make you feel all kinds of ways and question things you didn't want to ever question. Hey, here's what I'll say. She's the least sexy one of the whole bunch because there's a whole range of those. Okay. I chose the least. So there we go. But yes, those 2, and then I had mentioned it last week on the show. Much less exciting, but I finished up my terrain that I was working on. So there you go.
Oh, that's
Nice little fun piece of
Great.
little sci-fi terrain. So yeah, just good. Little quick weathering and stuff. Yeah, fun piece. This is just something. I shouldn't turn away from the mic and talk. That was just something fun to, sort of like when you didn't have anything else. When I had a few moments, because I've had to make something like 5 videos since last week's show or something like that. So it's been a very busy weekend. But anyways, so yes, I've got my 2 rats who will sit here and wait for me as I'll be on the road for like 16 days or something, and so I won't have any chance to paint either of these beautiful rats, but they'll be waiting for me when I get back. Okay, I'm glad to see so many other people are getting uncomfortable in the chat too. That's great. Hit like if the rat lady makes you a little uncomfortable and question things. That's what I'll say. Okay. With that, let's talk about some starter stuff, shall we? Let's get into it. Okay. By the way, as I'm going over and bringing up this presentation, what I talked about before and following me, if you don't want to follow on Twitter, because you don't like Twitter, because Twitter's a cesspool, that's fine. My Twitter's great. It's all just people who share models. But I don't mean like my personal Twitter. I mean like the one I'm looking at when I scroll. I never see anything except people sharing models. But you can also follow me on Instagram. Same things will also be shared there. So I'm just saying. Things are coming. Okay. Simplifying AoS. The starter battle pack. I'm just going to jump in here to the first page. I'm going to lay down some principles, and I want you gentlemen to check me and tell me if you think I'm right. Okay? I think AoS 3.0 is the best edition of AoS so far. Let's just pause there. Do we agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay. That feels it feels just true. Like I've had so much fun playing in this edition. It feels more balanced, better overall. It feels like you've got more options in a lot of ways. The battle tomes are just great. Like every 3.0 battle tome, for the most part, that they've released has felt better. It's not that there hasn't been some issues that needed to be like hammered in, but it's been a lot of great battle tomes. Real high watermarks in the history of AoS. And the battle plans we've seen thus far are generally pretty great. Okay. So all that's true. And there seems to be one glaring downside, though. And that's complexity. Jack, where are you at on the overall complexity of 3.0?
It is more complex than it's ever been. And like I remember watching an episode where you talked about this, like this how all games goes, and there's a reset, and that kind of stuck with me. And this also, like 3rd edition, and you brought up Shu earlier. It's one of those things. Be careful what you wish for. Because I remember like having a conversation. He was like, "Why am I standing in this spot? Why? I don't get it. There's got to be a reason why I'm standing here." And now we're adding more complexities and giving people reasons. And it's not just stand on this point, win the game.
Right.
And like, but giving that, it's like, because I've tried to teach a couple new people, one coming back after a long absence, and it's just like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much information being spread at you. And I'm just like, oh, wow. Because I'm like, wait, let's go back. You got to pick a battle tactic. What's that? I'm like, oh, here's heroic actions. And these are interactions where we wanted. Because sometimes if you got double turn, you're just like, all right, I'll be back, roll my dice for it. But now there's a constant boom and boom. And so this is I think for players who really play a lot, this is not a problem. Because my whole thing was like, I get reps in. That's what I do. I have a good memory and I get reps in. That's how I am able to win the tournaments occasionally. Because I just know what your stuff does, know what your stuff does. But if you don't get to play a lot, this can be very daunting.
Yep, I think you nailed it exactly. Yeah. And Tyler, I know you and I have spoken about this, but I want to throw the next point at you before I have you comment, which is the complexity means experienced players and those who value complexity have the play experience that a lot of them have always wanted, right? Like this is what they've been wanting to drive at. Like and those are 2 separate cohorts of people, by the way, right? Like there's a set of tournament players who value their ability to display their skill and intelligence through the execution of their strategy in the game. And they certainly have a lot of chances to do that through the interactions on offer. And then there is a segment of people who value complexity just for complexity. Okay. And I'm not judging that. I'm not making a normative claim as to that's being good or bad. It simply is the case that some people like complexity. Like, there are people who play Battletech. Okay, these people exist. There are people who value complexity simply for valuing complexity. All right.
Well, that's what my favorite example of this over the years was. I remember a series of tweets from our good friend Ben, Studio Earthwood, where he laid out all of the details that he went into with Lumineth, and it was just pure insanity. And then he was like, he was just in heaven. I don't know if he still feels that way, but I just thought, like, oh, that's the player type. Like, that's the archetype right there.
It's funny because I think he's swung all the way around to the other side.
Okay. Yeah.
Since he started like leading his after school thing and playing with kids.
Oh, sure.
I think now he's back over on the other side.
Yeah. So Benjamin. Yeah.
Yes, Benjamin. Yes.
Sana. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah.
By the way, I knew as soon as I threw out like the BattleTech bait, I was going to get people to comment immediately. Like, I love like immediately. It's so easy chum in the water to get the sharks coming out. Look, I love BattleTech. I love MechWarrior. I love the whole universe and the history of it. And I could just flip this over and do an entire BattleTech show. Okay. But it is a game that values complexity, often for complexity's sake. Like, if you ever played the actual MechWarrior role-playing game derivative of that, like, that is a game that loves lots of nuanced complexity. But anyways, I mean, I've played BattleTech off and on since 1994. So yeah, I mean, I've been around it for a while. But the point is that, like, newer players, those learning the game and those wanting a simpler experience, are going to be found wanting. Right? That's the challenge. There's just like Jack, you mentioned having a new player play the game, right? You know, trying to take people into it. And I'll tell you, if you try to actually show them the game as it exists now, I think their brain just melts out of their ears a little bit. Right? Like, if you try to open up the General's Handbook and be like, wait, let's play the current season of this game in match play. Right? Oh boy. Oh boy.
Did this a month ago with one of our new guys. Yeah, guys. And I scaled a lot of things back. I just kind of made it up on the fly. Like, all right, we're going to skip this, going to skip this, going to skip this. And even then, he was still pretty overwhelmed by the game and just how much is going on. So, yeah. And this has been the case. Jack, my experience has been the exact same. Every single it's a chore. It feels like way too much of a chore to try to help new players.
I don't want them to not play the game.
Right.
Because this has a chance for them saying, "Oh, never mind, this isn't for me," and it's like, "Oh no, but it can be if you get the taste for it. Like, it's like alcohol. Eventually, you'll like it."
Great analogy.
And like, the problem here in my mind is, I completely agree with what you just said, Jack. But at the same time, I think then I don't want to make this just a new player thing. Like, that is correct. But there's also just a cohort of people who just want to play the stupid game, like, in a simple form, right? Yeah. Who just want to, like, put their models down and play the big army game and have fun with it, without needing to worry about 100 different interactions and picadillos and timing-based things and stuff like that. I mean, Uncle Adam's in the chat, and he said, he played AoS 1.0 some, and 2.0 he couldn't play 3.0. Right? Like, Adam likes a good, like, straightforward, simple experience. And I'm not in any way bashing that. That's exactly what the game really used to have on offer in the beginning. It's not that anymore. Right? And I think that's a problem. Right? I mean, am I crazy? This is a problem. Because if we don't bring in new blood and or keep people who want that simple experience playing, we will just bleed people and end up like Warhammer Fantasy, where it got so up its own butt with complexity and the rules nuance to answer the tournament people Nobody wanted to play it anymore.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
all
want to be there.
anecdotal. We've lost some players who used to play 2.0, and they stopped because of the complexity. Like it became too much for them. They were
Yeah, we
basically
I can tell you like Brent, like we recorded one and it was just like, and then no, not to get, he had other reasons why, but he's like, oh, I can't, there's too much resources for me to do that. And I'm holding on to Shu, kicking and screaming like, no, you'll like it.
Yeah.
The rules are, but it's just like, and like I'm seeing people fall to the wayside. There was a lot of people joining, but it's like new people are coming and we're losing people as well. But I think that might be like in all games life cycles.
Sure, there's always going to be some bleed. You have to assume some people fall out of the game. That's always going to happen. I think the industry average, I have no idea on GW's numbers, and they never release such a thing. But I'm pretty sure the industry average is 1 in 5. Basically, like 1 in 5 current players of the game on January 1st of that year will not be players at the end of that year, or something like that. However you measure that, or will not have bought anything for the game in that year. There's different methods of measurement as to what a player of the game is. Fortunately, I think we can solve this problem. Okay? This is a completely solvable problem. The way we're going to solve this is through battle packs, because 3.0, one of the best things it did was introduce battle packs. When you open up the core rules, there's a battle pack, and it says this is how you play. You use these sets of rules. You don't use these, so on and so forth. You open up the GHB. That's a specific battle pack. Like, the reason we're in GUR and using the GUR-related stuff and tactics and all of those things is because that's the battle pack. If you go play Season of War Thondia out of the narrative book, that's a different battle pack. It has its own tactics and special rules and battle plans and all that kind of stuff, right? So, the question is, I'm going to put her over here because she's kind of in my way. She's so big.
Just got creeped out again.
She's watching you. So we can make a new battle pack that's just like the simple experience, the starter experience, the casual experience, I don't care. We can call it whatever. I don't want to get bogged down in the name, right? It matters what you call it, but I don't care at this point. That's later. That's for the branding and marketing people to figure out, right? I'm concerned with what it's functionally doing.
And the point is, they don't have this. Like, this doesn't
Didn't they do
exist,
this with like World of Warcraft, where they made the stripped down version? What do they call it? Classic? Call it AoS 3.0 Classic or Vanilla?
Yeah, they rolled it back to basically original. I mean, there was some very minor tweaks they made on it, a lot of like bug fixes and stuff. They didn't reinstall bugs that were in the original, but yeah, that would have been truly funny. You're like running around and you get stuck in the world somewhere because they reinstalled the pathing fix that they had put in, or the pathing bug. All right, pitch battle. Here we go. Let's break into this. Okay. Okay. A battle pack tells you how you play a pitched battle. And my argument is most people want to play pitched battles. That doesn't mean matched play. It means a pitched battle. And the reason I say that is because most people playing a narrative game is a lot of extra work. Like, I like narrative games. They're fun, but they're a lot of extra work. I've watched a lot of, Jack, when you guys did your narrative campaign, right? Sort of toward the end of 2.0. And like, there's a lot of extra rules, and the earlier one you did back at the beginning of 2.0, there's a lot of extra like rules and things you're tracking and stuff you're sort of monitoring, right? So that's perfectly fine, but that's also for an expert who's interested in a different type of thing. It's complexity of a different flavor. Right?
Yeah, I was noticing that with like Path to Glory, there's so much bookkeeping in there. It's not just like, all right, armies, no. So it is more complex in a different way, but like for people who are into it, they're fine with, just like I'm fine with learning all the battle tactics and stuff because I'm really into this. If they're really into that narrative, they don't see it as a chore or something that they have to slog through. This is what, they like it.
Yep. So here's my ideas. Here's where I think we start. And again, there's a link down there to, if you want another take on this, then the as mentioned, the casual battle pack, which we'll be referencing regularly, that link is in the description for the Imager album that contains everything. Their take is different than ours. I wrote this before I had read that, but there's a lot of good ideas in there, and I think you could use this kind of stuff. So points limits, let's just keep the existing points limits, but we're going to add a 1,500 point level from the core book. Okay? I don't think the game actually works below 1,000 points. That's a statement. I don't know. Jack, what do you think about that?
I've only done it with Path to Glory, and like
Sure.
there'll be some things where it's just boom, game's over.
Right.
Because you had a really powerful thing that could fit there. And so I agree with you.
Yeah. I've played many great 1,000-point games. I think at 1,000 points, 1,500 points, the game sings. No problem at all. Okay? I think that is the actual floor of Age of Sigmar, where you actually have a quote-unquote army on the table.
Like table sizes, anything, if you're still playing on that big table with less than 1,000 points, it's cavernous. It's too much space.
Just people running around the whole time. Like, in turn 4, your guy finally got there. Okay. All right. So we're gonna keep this straightforward. 1,000 points is also not that many. It's not that hard to build up that force. Like, if we want to keep the starter people in mind, 1,000 points is effectively what often comes in those new Vanguard boxes or whatever that they're putting out, like the replacement for the starter boxes. So that feels pretty on point because those are very gettable, paintable boxes. The Nurgle Vanguard that they put out was great. Wonderful starter force. Okay.
Like right around 900. Yeah. I was just adding it up.
Yep. I think if you get that and then like the Herald or something, you're basically at 1,000 or whatever it was. It was somewhere like that. There was some trick to get right there. Or maybe the new Rotmeyer Creed guys. Huh? Okay. All right. Next up, we pick our army. So all units are from the same faction. Allies are not allowed. Like, we're not going to explain allies. We're not worrying about it. We're just jettisoning those aside. Pick your army. Okay? It has to... All things are from this army. Open your book. Find the units you like. Write them down. Done. Don't open other books. There's no incarnates. It should go without saying, but that is getting jettisoned into the sun. Obviously. No mercenaries. No none of that, right? It's... All units come from your book. Open the book.
What about War Masters?
Play the book. What's that? Oh, like
what about War Masters?
General?
Like Archeon and the Gash.
Oh, nah, just keep them out of here for now. Like, unless they're in that book. If you open Slaves to Darkness, you see Archeon. Cool, you can play him, right? If it's in the book, then it's fine. Like, it's got to be from that book. We're just going to keep it simple.
That's one thing that the fellow George did with his Casuals Handbook. He added a what he called massive models line, where he had a point size limit on and a number like 0 to 1 massive models, and a massive model was defined as 400 points or more.
Yeah.
For his casual play.
I saw that. I don't know if that's that again. So he added some things in. Okay, that I'm not sure I would add in because he was like adding extra rules on top. I get why he was doing it because he was trying to make sure that it wasn't a blowout one way or the other because like one person takes Nagash and the other person and then like 2 units of Direwolf, or, whatever, something silly like that. So I get it, but that's just I'm not adding more rules.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
We're cutting.
That's fair. Yeah.
We're cutting here. Okay. Andrew Littleton said, what about Cities of Sigmar with the Stormkeeps? If you have Coalition, I said no allies. If you have Coalition and it's printed in your book, I mean, sure. I wouldn't recommend that army for a new player, but if it's like directly Coalition where it says you can take that thing and it's sort of a consistent type of how you play, let's say sure, you can take Coalition units, but there's no allies. Allies are different than Coalition. And allies have all sorts of weird rules where they don't count as this and yada, yada, yada. It just creates confusion. Okay. I would never hand anybody cities as a starter army. It is the opposite of a starter army. Here you go. Here's your army. It's 7 completely different armies. You can pull from 4 other different armies if you want to, 5 other different armies if you want to. The sculpts are all from 1999, so I guess go have fun with that. Just like, no.
Yeah, hopefully you're not a completionist because your bank account's gonna.
And oh, by the way, there are 80 units in this book you get to pick from. Like, no. Right? Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, coalition's fine, whatever. But like, we're not doing allies. Battlefield rules as standard. I feel like that is a fundamental thing in the game that we can keep. It's not that heavy of a pressure, and it teaches people things like leaders and behemoths and battle line units, that kind of stuff. Sure, it's fine. Okay, like we're using the table. We're going to keep those things. I would alter the table to say like allied units would just be struck or just say 0. Right? I would alter the table to just say 0. Also, Haywo said, no allies, mercs, or coalition. Game strictly improved. Which I tend to agree with. Outside of the coalition for things like cities where it's so integral. Most of the new Chaos armies where they have that type of thing going on are pretty nice in that you don't really need them. Okay. No battalions. Battalions, gone. That's not a thing we're doing. We don't need those. Okay? Like, did you take units? Did you spend your points? Good job. GJ. I watch some people in my group are pretty casual, and they'll show up to play, and they'll have their army filled out, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, what battalions did you take? And they'll be like, crap.
Yeah. I've watched a lot of new players, write lists that are incorrect, just totally wrong. Yeah, because they can't figure out how to do the battalions. No, it's not beginner friendly in a lot of ways. What about universal enhancements? Maybe that's later.
That's later. That's going to be a thing we talk about later.
Right. Good.
Okay. No endless spells, no invocations. Get out of here. Get out of here with this stuff. We're not doing that. You play with units that are there. Pick the units. No endless spells, no invocations, none of this crap. We're not worrying about it at the moment. That's out of here. Maybe eventually we could work that back in. I don't know. But right now, nope. We don't need it. No purple sun. No cogs. No none of this. Get it out of here. Okay.
Yeah, I will. The one thing I like about extra battalions when I'm teaching somebody new is because they get more items to mess around with. You can take this item, you can take this, and now you can, it's cool because I get to play with more toys. But it is, you need this unit to require to this unit, and so that can be daunting. Yeah. So you can always be like, all right, you get extra item.
Sure, absolutely. Maybe we just write into this starter battle pack, everybody gets one bonus artifact. We could do that. That could be a thing we do, right? Like, we're in charge of the rules here. We can write anything. Okay. In fact, here, I'm going to do it right now. You ready? Everyone gets one bonus enhancement. I'm not even going to write artifact. I'm going to write enhancement. Okay. I wish I could jettison the entire enhancement section, but since it's in the core book, I can't really do much with that. So I'm saddled with what I am saddled with. Explaining enhancements alone to people is such a big pain in the tuchus. It's like, ugh. Okay. So there we go. Everyone gets one bonus enhancement. Do we want to make that an artifact alone, or do we just want to say enhancement? I say enhancement. What do you feel, Jack?
Artifact.
Okay. Tyler, you're the deciding vote.
Oh, goodness. Artifact only is interesting. Yeah, that's pretty
done.
interesting.
It's artifact. You get one bonus artifact.
Simplicity.
Yeah, you get one bonus shiny toy. Less to teach him. I agree. That's the right choice. Jack, you were right. Okay. You fill out your army roster as normal, and here's where we come to maybe the first truly controversial thing. I'm keeping grand strategies. Okay? Now, I'm using the core book grand strategies only. I'm going to flip to the next page. Where do I have those? There we are. I'm going to flip to my grand strategies page. The 3 grand strategies in the core rules are Sever the Head, okay, which you complete this grand strategy if there are no heroes from your opponent's starting army on the battlefield. Vendetta, your enemy's general is slain and yours general is not slain. And Hold the Line, you complete this grand strategy if there are any battle line units from your starting army on the battlefield. Okay? So Those three. Simple concepts to understand that work with the base things. Kill all their heroes, kill their general but keep your general alive, or keep some of your battle line alive. Okay? Simple. And grand strategies, the reason I decided to keep them is because they're not a thing you're really thinking about a lot during the game where they're making decision points, right? Like you made the choice once during list building, you write it down, and it gives them kind of a fun secondary thing to go for and to do and to win, right? If they start losing on points, they can be like, okay, well, I'm going to, they still have something they can drive at. You understand what I mean? They can be like, oh, well, I'll still kill your general and keep mine alive, right? You put them in, you make the decision at list building, you check it at the end of the game. Okay?
Yeah.
In my mind, the grand strats are closer to schemes, which I always loved. Right?
Yep. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, they're schemes. Yeah, George. George is in the chat. Thank you for your awesome work. I don't know if you caught it earlier, man. We've been talking about your pack. It's really intriguing. So, yes, we've been discussing it.
Yep. Well, we're going to talk about more things to cut, and George, don't worry, we'll get to triumphs for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, to me, I liked keeping grand strats and just keeping these three simple ones from the core rules. They deal with the absolute fundamentals. There's nothing tricky about them or weird. It's so easy to grasp. Kill all those dudes. Don't lose all your dudes. Kill the guy in charge. Your guy's still alive. Right? Like, easy.
Yeah. I mean, competitively, obviously, Hold the Line was one of the go-tos, if not the number one go-to. And throughout 2.0, it probably is a little different. I mean, it's still going to be highly valuable. But just in terms of, again, I mean, this is casual, beginner-oriented, so it's probably not as big of a deal. And there's going to be fewer heroes on the battlefield, all is equal. So, yeah, Sever the Head and Vendetta are probably going to be a little more viable as well. Yeah, it's probably fine. I mean, that one does. If they just got two battle line, you kill the battle line, you get grand strat. Maybe that one is more like it's 60-40 or 70-30 in terms of the ones that's chosen. I could see that one being the most popular, but... Yeah, 3 seems the right number though. I don't like the idea of adding a 4th or 5th. I don't think we're getting a lot.
Yeah.
Just stick with 3.
Just stick with 3. 3 is the perfect number of choices. Small, medium, large. That's what I want. I don't need other things going on here. Okay? I don't need to biggie size it. All right? I just need small, medium, large. That's it. I'm good. Okay.
On the Hold the I was gonna say on the Hold the Line, I do like No Place for the Weak. Which is our new grand strategy, where it is you have to kill all of the enemy battle line.
Yeah.
That's a little more challenging than keep your battle line alive. So maybe there's something to be said for that one over Hold the Line, but yeah, these are probably good enough.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely, George. We linked yours down below, and it's a great resource as well. And believe me, we're going to be stealing wholesale from you later. Okay. Additional things. Battle tactics. Those are out. Those are gone.
Yeah.
Into the sea.
Yes. That's
right?
number 1 on the list. Yeah. Get rid of.
Like, Jack, how many times have you been playing? You, a very experienced player, okay, who is actually a tournament winner, rerolling one's Jack. And how many times have you gotten into your hero phase and been like, oh, hold on, I need to pick my battle tactic?
Yeah. It is a thing that takes me, like, since there's been this new JHB that I haven't had a ton of games in, it's still the biggest thing. I'm like, okay, what are the new ones? Or what are the ones from my book? It is the thing as an experienced player that I'm still taking time to learn. And so that is the biggest thing where trying to walk somebody through a new game and, even if they're on the channel and just like, we'll do it off camera. I'm like, okay, these are the ones you can do. We'll go, this is a good one to start with. And it's just, you can see the joy drain from their faces as you're trying to.
Right.
It's like, I have to do this every turn. Like, yeah. And they're like, I do like that they're hard to get. Whereas before it was just automatic. Now it's just like, ooh, maybe if I do this and I get this charge and I roll a 10, I might be able to do this. And so, but that does take time. And so I agree for this, get it out. Warhammer Basic, get it out of here.
The analysis, this is specifically the thing that caused analysis paralysis for Shu in the battle report. And I will say, when I played at like Holy Wars or whatever in the spring, and Steve doesn't use battle tactics, and I was like, oh my god, this game is so much less stressful now. Like, I'm just playing the game. It's great. So battle tactics, you out of here. Sorry, you're not making the cut. Realm rules, no such thing. I don't know who you are. Never new phone. Who dis? Okay, like that's not happening. We're not worrying about. We're not in Gert. You can be wherever the heck you want. The battlefield of your imagination is where we are. Okay, like no Galatian veterans, no any of that crap. It's all gone. Okay, jettisoned. Mysterious terrain gone. We're jettisoning that too. Okay, like I'm not rolling for terrain and labeling it arcane and inspiring and all that and giving people 6 more dumb things they've got to remember for extremely minimal benefits unless I happen to roll a table of all arcane. Okay. That's good.
Yeah, it's adding on, and obviously, go ahead.
I would say that I think the half-inch, like in the combat phase for veteran thing, I think that does make the game speed up a little more for the player, because you're trying to explain piling. All right, you have to stick next to 2. Yeah, the guys in the back, they're not going to be able to fight. And so I do like that rule, but again, trim it down, take it out of there, because we're losing.
No, it's okay. I like where your head's at, Jack, because later we're going to get to the is there anything we should drop in here? Okay. It's not adding rules necessarily, but that is making where it might be worth it, where it's going to smooth the game out. And I agree with you. The one thing, Jack, that I looked at and I was like, I hate this, that I have to cut this thing, is the fight within a half-inch thing for Galatian veterans. Because it does make the game legitimately faster. Right? It's just nice. Okay.
Vince, I was going to say, obviously, we've had a lot of discussion about the terrain keywords, defensible, obscuring, and impassable. Of course, tons of discussion about how the terrain system has been arguably the weakest part of 3.0. Is adding rules, sort of, or replacing rules, is that too much for this? Are we trying to clean up the terrain system and all of its wonkiness, where all the things you know about that are wonky with it?
It's tough. It's a tough discussion. Let's save it. Let's come back. Okay. Let's lay down the baseline and then we'll come back to it. Faction terrain can be used as normal. I don't want to shut people out of their faction terrain. Like if you get your little ogre cauldron, if you get your little Slanesh pizza cutter, sure, knock yourself out, right? That's fine.
I've never heard it called a pizza cutter.
That's what it is. You just roll that bad boy out there. Just cut you out a slice while you're in the middle of the game. Yeah. It even comes separate. That's what I love about it. Like, it doesn't have to seed into that thing, so you just pop it right out.
I can't unsee
it. Get some of that fresh pepperoni and you're good to go. All right.
Alternate. At first it was the rat lady, and now it's a pizza cutter. It's just stuck in my brain now.
It's what we're here for. Dream. And then alternating deployment is used to set up units. The player that finishes deploying first has priority. Easy. Okay? There's no battalions, remember. So it's just, how many units did you put in your army, right? How many drops are you? I'm 9. So the concept of drops is still here, right, of deployment. I think it is a useful thing to understand. It shows up in basically all of the matched play stuff. So I think it stays. Because priority
I like it.
And the choosing of priority is actually a really important thing to learn. And I'm looking at what are the truly foundational elements of the game versus what's the extra flash on top that doesn't actually need to be there, right?
I think this is a perfect, because this is like a stepping stone to get to up here. And so that's perfect, where it's we're going to spoon feed you some stuff. This is still, you need to learn it. But this is so you're not just, I don't want to play this because it's too much.
Right. It's very easy to explain too. You're going to set down a unit, then I'm going to set down a unit. And then you're going to set down a unit, and I'm going to set down a unit. And whichever one of us finishes first gets to decide who takes the first turn. That's it. It is probably the toughest thing I kept in here because I know drops can be confusing as a sort of overall concept. But really, it doesn't have to be about drops. It's just you go, I go. We're going to roll to see who sets one down first, and then we're going to go back and forth until we're done. Because there's no unified, no nonsense. It's just we go back and forth until we're done. Right? Okay. All right. Cool. So that's the thing. Jenna said first to finish deploy gets priority is weird when you don't have any mechanism to affect your number of drops beyond changing your armies. It seems like it locks certain armies out of turn one priority. Maybe most armies can run from X number of drops to Y number of drops. Like there's usually quite a range there of choices you have based on how many units you're putting in your army. So I don't think it's locking out too many. Most people will just exist in like 8 to 12. That's what will end up happening because most armies, bar unified, have 8 to 12 units. That's just how it ends up working.
Yeah, there's maybe an argument. I mean, I don't like the idea of changing such a core element that we've had always with the game, but maybe an argument for a +1 if you have lowered at this level of the game, but
Yeah,
it's different. And
This is one of those things I want to get them set up because this has to like
exactly.
I want to also like say this is still
Ladder.
a version of the normal game. I'm not writing a new
exactly.
game here, right?
Yeah,
And
you don't want to change core rules like that exactly, unless you have to.
Right. This is part of AoS. So love it or hate it, it is part of the game. And I think it was like the most complex thing, but I think it's worth keeping. All right, we talked about grand strats already, and we all said, are there? I had the question here of any other grand strats to include. You mentioned Tyler.
Place for the week has maybe
swap. No place for the week.
Yeah, it's a little more challenging.
Hold the line. Now, my only pushback on you there, Tyler, okay, is hold the line is purely defensive. Keep your stuff alive. Vendetta is kill and keep something alive, and sever the head is completely kill. So it's actually rather nice. That spread is nice. If you think about it, it's like all kill, all protect, kill protect.
Yeah, you could add again. I feel like you still want to stick with 3. I mean, maybe you could do 4, but 3 is nice. We don't have a positioning based one, right? Like defend what's ours or take what's theirs. Take what's theirs is the go-to grand strategy for competitive play right now.
Yep.
So maybe you could do take what's theirs or something like it to get a positioning one in there rather than just survive and kill oriented, right? If you want to have the 3 elements: positioning, survive, kill.
Yeah. The answer. Let me answer Mindy real quick. Mindy, the answer is whoever finishes first. So whoever makes the roll and wins the roll to put down their first unit, then whoever started dropping first, if you both had 8, would finish first, right? Exactly what Haywo just explained. Okay. Cool. And I see lots of people with other concepts about the turn starting thing. It's the most controversial thing. You could do 10 different solutions for it. This was mine. Okay. But I can see people wanting a roll type thing or whatever. And I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. Right. I'm just going to tell you that it's going to set people up with weird expectations if they do decide to like, hey, I played this a lot. I want to try this more. Because assumingly the other battle pack still exists, like if they decide they want to go to the GHB battle pack, that's going to be quite a shock for them, right? So that's the only thing that I was concerned with. So and it doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal, like it's not putting them on the back foot to any great degree, especially in a teaching game. Like if they happen to have priority or not, it's not going to be the end of the world. Okay. Was my assumption. Other cuts. All right, here we go. Let's talk about it. Here's where we get into the other stuff to cut. All right. Heroic actions. Jack, are they staying or are they going?
I think they stay because I do think if we're losing battle tactics, I think heroic actions, it lets you, if they're fun things that you can do interact with both hero phases and say like, if you don't have a wizard, you can teaches them that you can dispel and unbind, gives them a way because we do want to like they need to learn. People need to learn the game, so I would keep those or maybe get rid of some of them. Like maybe you don't use finest hour, and like so you're allowed to use the heroic willpower, try to get the command points because you need that resource to be able to do cool things. And so I actually do like heroic actions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's so good. Tyler, what's your take?
Hard agree. 100%. Yeah, a big. I do like them. I know it's a little more complexity. I think they're fun, interesting. Gives you something to do in the hero phase. Every hero phase, you've got something to do right off the bat. And yeah, no, Jack summed it up really well.
So the interesting thing about this kind of stuff to me, and I mentioned this to you, Tyler, in a call, was if we did a survey, and maybe we'll do this survey in the future at some point. If we did a survey where I simply put out the questions, let's say I do a survey in the future, and the survey says, here's the question: please rate heroic actions on the scale below. And the scale below was a 5-point scale going from mostly unfavorable to mostly favorable or something like that, right? Or whatever. So 1, you really hate it. 2, you mildly hate it. 3, you're neutral. 4, you somewhat like it. 5, you really like it. Okay. So a standard sentiment analysis 5 sweep, right? If I did that individually for all of these elements, even including things like battle tactics and everything else we've talked about it, individually, my guess is people would be like, yeah, I like that. I bet almost all of these would be above water. Right? But if you put them all, it's like rocks in a river. You can throw a rock in a river every day for quite a while and not change the river. But eventually, you throw enough rocks, you dam the river. Okay? So it's tough. And so here's the next question, right? With heroic actions, are we keeping all 4 or are we paring it down? Is there are we keeping a smaller list? Like, do they have the heroic action of maybe they can roll for a command point and that's it? Or they get the command point and the self-heal outside of combat, and that's it. Or something like that. Or do we keep all 4? Jack, what's your take?
I was thinking about, maybe you could use Finest Hour, but that's also pretty cool because it
is pretty cool. Like, it feels great, right?
And I was like, well, you could, willpower, but I think teaching somebody about unbinding is crucial, and dispelling is crucial in the game too. So I keep that one. Healing is nice, but I think that would be on the chopping block if I was to. But I would rather keep all 4.
Okay, I'm seeing mostly support for heroic actions for keeping them all, and people saying, yeah, all or nothing. So you know what we're gonna say here? We keep it. Now, I will say one of the things, George, you mentioned was if it's in the free core rules, it should be assumed. Now, that being said, that doesn't necessarily have to be true. Like, the battle packs will frequently modify the core rules. Okay? And will change basic expectations. So, like, a battle pack can do any of this. Right? The question is, are we going to change things so much? Like, the technology what a battle pack can do could say anything. Right? It can literally say anything. It can say, in this battle pack, you can't take behemoths. It's not a thing. Right? Like, it could do that. That's a perfectly valid thing about it. You could write a rule into a battle pack. If it can change the way attacks happen in the core rules, which is what our current battle pack does, right? It says, no. You know all that weapon range stuff we taught you earlier? And who's eligible to make attacks? Forget all that. Jettison that. Throw that in the sea. Instead, you're doing this other thing. Right? That's a heck of a change. So we can do whatever we want. The question is, are we actually doing something positive, which is the idea. And all of these things have good and bad to them. The question is not, is there any good? Yeah, all of these things have good. The question is there more bad than good when our goal, when our primary purpose is to keep the game simple, moving, efficient, easy to teach to new people, and low complexity? Right? Are we getting more good than bad? That's the litmus test. Right? Okay. So we keep them. I agree with you. I think heroic actions are actually pretty awesome. They're limited to 1 hero can do them. It's a pretty reasonable thing to do. And it does, like, if you get rid of this, somebody playing like Sons of Bahamut, like, doesn't have a hero phase most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. They
just do nothing.
Right. And Vince, that's one reason why, like, number one, I feel there's a difference between heroic actions and monstrous rampage is the timing, right? Where monstrous rampage has a little more of an awkward timing, in my opinion, for newer players, where it's at the end of the charge phase.
Yeah.
And then you're rolling into the combat phase, yeah? I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to keep them in there, but I personally feel like you probably could set that on the sideline and you'd be fine.
Well, that's the next question, buddy.
Okay.
Are we
Yeah,
keeping
Monstrous
monstrous rampages? That's literally the next one on my list.
I'd lean toward. I mean, I can see the point. It's in the core rules. You're jettisoning it. Is that the right call?
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, for me, this would be like maybe getting rid of one because some monsters rampages are on people's war scroll, and I want them to be able to use their cool stuff. And
Sure.
I do think roar stops people from doing cool things, and I want people to be able to like do awesome stuff and get excited about the game. So if you roar my thing, oh man, I can't do the thing in the combat phase, which my army can do, which gets me all buffed up, and now I'm Superman. And so I would get rid of roar. I'd still keep. I think destroying somebody's terrain piece that's going to get somebody excited. Keep that in there. And stomp, always just doing, D3 mortal wounds, probably not going to do super game changing. So I'd keep them, get rid of roar, and Titanic duel, keep all the other ones, and because I'm thinking if you get rid of all of them, then you're stopping people from doing them that are on their war scroll. And so that's what I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, we've got there is the added challenge here you brought up of is some monsters have their own unique monstrous rampages written onto the war scroll. So if we jettison the whole class of thing, it's suddenly not going to make any sense what they're doing there, right? This is a challenge. Now, this is the toughest one for me. I went back and forth on this 100 times.
It really is, yeah. I mean, there's so many arguments on both sides, yeah.
Because here's the thing. In the hero phase, you may not have anything else to do, especially in the enemy's turn, right? Like, you may not... Maybe you're unbinding their stuff, maybe you're not. Okay. But you're mostly just sitting there on your hands. But this at least feels like you've got something, right?
What about modifying roar so it goes off on a 5?
Well, then it's like a feel bad because you didn't roll it, right? It's the opposite way around. Like, then you fail it more, and so that now the player's like, oh...
That's true.
Right? The thing about the charge phase is it's already a pretty exciting phase in your own turn, and even in your enemy's turn, because you're like, let's face it, this is like the phase we're all on the edge of our seats, raising up, clenching, because like, somebody's got an 8-inch charge, and they roll that 6, and then they're like, they punch the reroll. It's a big moment. That's a big moment, right? You're like, come on, fail it again, fail it again, fail it again. Just fail those dice. Just fail those dice. And then you see them, like, you see the first dice stop moving, it's a 1. And so you know they can't get the 8, and you're like, yeah! But you don't say anything. You're like, okay. Right? Like, come on, that's an exciting moment. So the charge phase is already, charged with energy and excitement, right? So do we need this second thing? Let me pitch an idea at you. Oh, the other problem is people forget these all the time. I forget these all the time. So everybody forgets these all the time.
Yes, even among a lot of experienced players, they'll still forget them.
Okay. Let me pitch an alternative idea at you. All right? Let's see if we can fix this. Monstrous rampages we keep, but we keep it like this. Monstrous rampages is just stomp. It's just stomp. Okay? 2 up, D3 mortal wounds. And you can stomp, right? Like, that's it. Your monsters can stomp.
Works the same way as it does now. It cannot stomp.
It can't stomp other monsters.
But yeah.
And you can do it multiple times. Like, that's the rule we're going to change. You can all your monsters can stomp. You can stomp.
Yeah. I like it.
That seems good.
Right? Like, it's a fun thing to do. It's damage. New players will grok it. I am a big giant thing. I am fighting little tiny things. I step on them and make them die. Right?
Introduces the idea of Monstrous Rampage, get people familiar. Yeah, hopefully you can remember that in a charge phase. It's, I dig that.
Yeah. And it's a very simple thing that they can remember to do. It's very intuitive. My big guy stomps on your little guys. That's it. And all my big guys get to do that.
This issue, Jack, you brought up where we're not saying we're removing Monstrous Rampage entirely. We're not saying you can't use stuff on your war scroll. So that's still on the table.
Yeah, so if you have a special thing that instead of doing another Monstrous Rampage, you can do this special Monstrous Rampage, sure. Like, of course, the scroll one can still happen, right? Like, that's on your scroll, and it's going to tell you specifically what to do, and you'll remember it, right? So, easy. Okay. All right, everybody. Jack, what do you think about that? You good with that?
I'm good. Stomp.
Okay. Keep stomp only. but all monsters can stompy stomp.
So
Okay.
are we moving past the charge phase?
Yes.
So what about Unleash Hell?
We're gonna get to command abilities in just a moment. Like
Oh, okay.
all the command abilities, we're gonna discuss as one here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, as Grand Alliance Death said, most special rampages are just improved stomps anyways, other than Tree Lords.
Yeah.
Right? Most of them are just like, when you stomp, instead of doing a D3 mortals, you do 4 or something. It's like, oh, okay, cool. It very, very much understand what's going on here. Triumphs. I mean, we're firing these into the sun, right? I mean, is there is there any reason to keep this?
Yeah, because it gets rid of the incentive to make your army as small as possible because you really want that extra charge and stuff. It's just like, all right, that will be later on. You can get into the kind of gaming mechanics of trying to get the triumph. And so, nope, just get them out.
Just get them out. Like, these just feel completely unnecessary to me.
Yeah.
Especially for a newer player. Like, that's just gone. Gone.
Side note, if you're watching Matthew Barker, props to you, man. 5-0 over the weekend. 1920, Jack, was his list. Nurgle, double Triumph, double Bloodthirsty, Gut Rot, 2x5 Blight King. Just leaning all the way into it. I loved it.
Oh my god, I love it. Double Bloodthirsty. That is amazing. You can punch both of those in the same phase, too. That's what's so incredible about that. Yeah.
Oh, that was really cool.
That takes guts to double Triumph. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Just roll 9s. You win the game. It's easy.
Let's talk command abilities, and oh boy, this one is a tricky one, right? So, look, command abilities. Do we all like all-out attack and all-out defense? Of course we do. Nobody's going to argue for those to be cut. They make complete sense. It's the combat phase. You can spend this little button over here, this little resource, and give your guys +1 to hit. Or you can spend this little button over here and give your guys who are being attacked +1 to save. It's sensible. It's easy. It's intuitive. No problems. Do we all agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's keep going. The reroll charge thing. Right? Reroll charge feels like a pretty easy one. Feels like it's in. We all like it. You can do it to 1 unit per charge phase. It sucks when you have like a 3-inch charge and roll a 2. That's one of the worst things in the world. So having a little button you can push to just be like, no, and then you get more than a 3, and you're like, yay! Right?
Yeah.
It's a good moment. Okay. So, okay, cool. That's staying. That's in. All right. Inspiring presence, right? So don't flee to battle shock. It teaches you that like you're going to learn there's a battle shock thing. That's going to happen because we're keeping that. We're not changing that mechanic. So the ability to lose a unit, to have a unit down, but to have your one brave little clan rat fight on, right, and be like, yes, I still stand. Feels pretty cool, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, that sticks around. Anybody, Jack, any opposition to inspiring presence? Okay. What we're learning here is that basically all of the ones that have existed since the inception of AoS that were in like the first book are pretty non-controversial because they're operating on the sort of core fluky dice rolls of the game. Right. And they allow the player to sort of minimize the negative externalities of a dice game, right? Okay. The run one, I don't know. Like the run one,
that's the one.
I'm pushing that to the side. It's been around forever, and I don't know if it needs to stick or not. But
it's kind of borderline to me. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you could go either way on it.
Sure. All right, that leaves us though with some little picadillos, shall we? Those little challenges are named Unleash Hell and Redeploy. Okay? So, what are we doing with these two? Is it too much of a change to the game if we remove them? Or is this too complicated of a thing to keep around?
It is. It's a big part of the game. Is
It
my
is.
issue. It's a very big part of the game.
Yeah.
But there's a lot on the plate already to digest. So I'm like, I think we can get rid of these two and rally. And just like, all right, we're just using the four.
Oh yes, thank you, Rally. I completely forgot about Rally. Yeah, no, I shouldn't have.
And so get
Much
rid of,
like Dre, you never forget about Rally. But yes, okay, so
I would say get rid of the three. Get rid of rally, get rid of redeploy, and unleash hell.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
That feels right. I'm sure not a lot of people won't. Not everybody's going to agree with that. I'm sure that feels right
I always
for
have to
the
like
spirit of
realize
this.
what this is for.
Yeah,
This is like-
exactly. Check. Yeah.
This is a stepping stone to get, and there could be another version after this where it's
Right.
everything. But like trying to explain everything, I could probably see somebody start to glaze over when I'm saying,
that's what I meant.
I get to shoot you now. Like, what do you mean you get to shoot? Like, you can redeploy, you can do all this stuff, and like there is so much. And I would say those three can go.
Right.
Okay.
Sticking with the rule of three, I mean, maybe jettison run, just all out D, all out O, and your reroll charge, right?
Oh, yeah, so
and inspiring
Sorry.
presence, yeah.
Oh, inspiring presence. Okay, so you gotta have those four. All right.
All right, let me speak
So-
for a moment in defense of Unleash Hell, okay? Because here's what I'm going to argue. Rally is gone. It's happening at a weird time. People forget it all the time. The start of the hero phase, you got to burn this thing. It's an easily forgettable thing, right? Redeploy, though I love it, I think it is very hard. It is very hard. Because of its implementation, it is very hard for it to stick around and for new players to kind of grok this is a thing they can suddenly do. Okay?
Like when you need to do it, and then the process of actually doing it can be very slow for newer players, especially. Yeah.
Yes. Like, and I get it, George, but I think, George, you got to look through the lens of a new player. You're a new, like, let's just all set ourselves in the lens of a new player here, because most of us are people who are playing this game. When you're a new player, the numbers on your war scroll don't make sense to you. You don't even know what those are. Okay? Like, you have no evaluation of what those things are. You've kind of got an idea. Like, this thing is wounds. He can't take that much damage or he dies. Okay, hit and wound. So I roll all these, then these. How's this rend thing work? Okay, so what does rend mean? Explain rend to me again. Right? Like, this is the common stuff you're going to hear, because all of that is new information to them at that moment. It just feels like such an escalation to say, like, okay, now also when people move near you, once per enemy movement phase, you can like burn a command point and then roll a die and then move that many inches in some direction. Most of the time, they're never going to use it right. That's number one. Like, they're never going to use it for the clever withing. They're never going to like move forward to block off a charge or take an objective or something like that. They're just going to walk away from it, right? Okay. And but the one that sticks in my head, it's harder for me to cut, is Unleash. Okay? And the reason I think so is because I'm not necessarily saying it stays. Maybe it goes, maybe it stays. I don't know. By the way, I do want to jettison the Run 6 one, because, like, who cares? Like, I know it's been around forever, but, like, who cares? It's just a thing that doesn't need to be there.
Doesn't feel like it's adding a lot. Yeah.
Right. It's just like an extra thing people will forget.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing with Unleash Hell is, in its current fixed version, it does feel pretty intuitive. Okay? Like, you charged the shooting unit.
Sure.
They shoot you.
Yeah.
Right? There's something about that makes sense. Like, again.
Well, dude, yeah. You're bringing back memories of 2016 AoS 1.0 in my head, tweets and people posting comments all over the place, how we didn't have anything in the game that was reactionary with regard to shooting. Why can this unit that's in combat shoot out of combat? why do I get charged and the shooting unit doesn't get to do anything? I saw so many people, yeah, who had that take during that 2015 to 2017 period.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I think you're right.
the thing that makes me want to keep it is, again, when I'm thinking in this lens, I'm always thinking, what is intuitive? Have you ever heard the story about Plants vs. Zombies? Do you know the Plants vs. Zombies story? Okay, I'll tell the story for everybody. That was obviously a redundant question because I was going to tell it anyways. Here you go. So the person who designed the game Plants vs. Zombies, pretty standard tower defense game, right? And when they originally designed it, it was just people fighting people. Okay, it's just dudes in the tower, dudes attacking the tower, whatever. The trick with Plants vs. Zombies and what the game as it existed then is that it when you set down your little humans to do your tower defense, they don't move. They just stood still. Okay? But the attacking people moved. Right? And so immediately people who played it were like, I don't get it. Why do my people standing in the tower not go move? Like, they should be moving. Okay? So then he thought about that, and then he reflavored it as plants in the tower and zombies attacking. Well, when you put a plant down, nobody expects a plant to go walk around, right? Like, you put the plant there, it stays there, it's a plant. But the zombie should obviously shamble forward slowly, as the enemy soldiers were doing, right? And so, like, people's intuitions about what they see in front of them is very powerful, especially when they're a new player. And to me, that's where Unleash clears the bar, because I'm like, yeah, I've got a gun, you charged me, I'm going to shoot at you.
Sure.
Right? Like, it feels like that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I agree with that. And I'm changing my mind. I'm just thinking about how much damage I did with my Lumineth and my 30 Sentinels and 50 Sentinels.
Sure.
And how just seeing people
Yeah.
not having a good time. But they have also changed. It's not 9 inches and all that stuff. So yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The new version of it feels a lot more controlled. But you're absolutely right. The downside we're allowing in is that a new player forgets it exists, charges into the enemy shooting unit, and gets blown to smithereens, right?
Sure.
Like, that's what we're going to allow in here. Okay? But to me, it feels worth it. But this is an easy thing to so the command abilities we keep are Unleash, All-Out Attack, All-Out Defense, the Reroll Charge. What's it called? I can't even remember.
Yeah, forward to victory.
Is that really what it's called?
Yeah.
Have you
That's
ever
what
said those words in your life at a table of Warhammer?
I think that's what it's called. Let's see. Forward to victory.
Incredible. I've never said those 3 words in that combination when referencing reroll a charge. I've said, I'll reroll a charge. I'll use my command ability to reroll a charge. And Inspiring Presence. Okay. So you got a little bit of reactionary stuff in there. All-Out Defense is reactionary. Unleash is reactionary. Right? You got a little bit of offensive stuff there. Good. Okay. Good.
The only one I'm a little uncertain about is the Unleash.
Sure.
But
It's
you laid out an interesting case for it.
it's risky. It's risky. But I think we got to take a little risk here. And say and give it a test. This would need testing, of course, right? But like, takes it like literally use it to teach some new players and see what happens. Okay. All right. What else? What else haven't we touched on, Jack? What else should we be? Should we be talking? What other cuts should we have or things? Anything else we should be cutting?
David Huron just mentioned he cutting reinforced units. I actually do like reinforced units. I like that mechanic. So I don't know about that, but other things you could, and Hey Woe mentioned something that when we just said Triumphs get out of here. Triumphs is a big part of their mechanic. So would you make like special exceptions for KO?
Well, KO get their own bonus things that they can do, right? Okay. To spend their gold to do it or whatever. So I don't think they just have their own special mechanic is what that becomes. They just because they're not accessing the general Triumphs anyways. They're using their like they're using their I like how George is like 15 minutes behind us or something. So I like seeing his answers when he's scared. But George, this is me in the future talking to you. Don't worry, it's going to be okay, as you'll see. Oh, AoS coach coming in with the big hotness. There's one. There's one. Miscast. That is just out of here so fast. Just jettisoning it. Gone. Like, it first of all, it should probably be cut from the core rules. I get the history of it, okay? I understand. I remember miscasts. I, too, have played Warhammer since the 90s. But like, who cares? It's just, it's just a thing that doesn't need to exist. It always happens at a dumb time. It's just like, oh, yep, that happened, I guess.
I didn't realize people didn't like that. I've been out of the AoS competitive loop. Is that like a thing?
He's just wrong about this, Jack. No, okay. he's not in the know. Nah, he's out on his own. Yeah.
I stand with Haywo on this one, who said cut miscast in real AoS as well. Yeah, there's nothing better than watching Nagash miscast.
Nothing better
than watching. It. Well, I love watching Nagash miscast on his second cast. That's really great. That's super fun for that player. You know what it usually ends up happening though is either Nagash miscasts or just some random hero they were just trying to push out like an arcane bolt on just miscasts. It's like not only do you not get the spell, but you also potentially kill your hero. Right? Great, good times. You mentioned reinforcements, Jack, and wanting to keep it. I do think it's a thing that should stick around because people want to build units, and it's sort of that is a very core concept of the game to be able to like build a unit. You know, like, hey, I've got 10 guys, I want to make it 20 guys. That's okay. That's a thing, right? But Tyler, where are you coming down on the reinforcement point side?
I mean, you know my history with a lot of this stuff. Like anything that can generally promote more variety, more units, multiple small units, right? Especially at a beginner level. You have an army that's 10 Plague Bearers and 5 Blight Kings and 2 Blight Lords, not 20 Plague Bearers and 10 Blight Kings and 1 hero, and that's my army. That probably doesn't even fit at 1,000 points, but you get the point.
Sure, I get it.
Like, I love anything that can promote diversity, variety, particularly for beginners. So I would probably come down on the side of, let's not do reinforcing. I don't know if we're gaining a whole lot by reinforcing at that level. I mean, maybe there's something with hobbying and what you're wanting to do, like if you're working toward the goal.
I think that if I was going to provide the counterpoint to it, it would be like I'm playing Gitz, Skaven, or Daughters, or Beasts of Chaos, maybe, or Savage Orcs. Or,
telling me horde armies exist in this game and people like horde armies and
correct.
You have to respect horde armies as a concept. Wow.
I'm saying there's a lot of armies that where if I just took 10 storm vermin, I would be like, what's the point of this? What is this doing?
You like meet in the middle and you can only reinforce a unit once.
Yeah, you could get rid of like you're saying so the battle line distinction is gone, right? Where it's like you can reinforce battle line units twice. Because the other way you could go, by the way, is you could just like take off the governor switch of reinforcement points completely and say you may reinforce any unit one time.
Yeah.
Right? Don't worry about reinforcement points. Just any unit can be reinforced once. Right? That could be like a sort of a middle ground. Right?
Core book does have a table 0 to 1, 750, 0 to 2, 1,000, 0 to 3, 1,500, and then of course 0 to 4 for 2,000. They do have that there.
Yeah, this is a good point. Coach also raised a good point that some units, when you buy them, they come automatically reinforced. Like, just it so happens, complete happenstance, you buy the unit because it's an older box to buy it in a 10 or something like that when it comes in 5s. It's usually no bigger than that. You know, you get a unit of 20 that can be taken in 10s. Yeah.
I always want people to be able to play a legally painted army. Like this is why one of the reasons I don't like that one mission where the deployment area is so small. Like you should always be able to play a legal army that's painted up. And so if you have 380 clan mats, you need to give me enough space to play it.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Do we like the middle ground solution here of cutting reinforcement points from the table and just saying all units may be reinforced up to one time? Don't worry about the mechanic. Effectively, we're cutting the double reinforcement weirdness for battle line, right? Mm-hmm. And we just say that would handle the box situation because like skeletons come reinforce in the box, Mortec Guard come reinforce in the box. There's some other examples that are like that, right? Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, Boingrot Bounders. Also, there you go. I knew there was something in Gets. I just couldn't remember which one it was.
That's probably fine.
Does that feel like a good middle ground? Like 20 Storm Vermin is still 20 Storm Vermin. That's something.
Yeah.
That's 40 Clan Rats. It's 40 zombies, right? Like those are still big units. You're gonna feel like you're putting some meat on the table when you do that.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It's back on some of the nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
Those snakes instead of 15.
Unless it's a single.
Right? Yes, unless it's a single, of course. Yeah. Of course. We'll still keep the single concept because, of course, it makes sense, right? So any non-single unit can be reinforced one time, cut reinforcement points otherwise. It introduces the concept of reinforcement and building up the unit without making it crazy or needing to worry about reinforcement point limits or stuff like that, which, frankly, I wouldn't hate if we just kind of had this rule in the general game and just cut reinforcement points, period, and just let people. And then the only thing that the competitive game introduced was Battle Line can reinforce twice, or they are not competitive, but you know what I'm saying, the tournament game, because. Honestly, I pretty much despise reinforcement points and think that they're super annoying. The only time they ever matter is when they annoy the living crap out of you because you wanted to build your army and you can't. It's like all that ever happens. All right. Anything else? I think that's a good list of like cuts, changes, things. I don't know. Anything else we should be hitting on here?
Yeah, if there's anybody in the chat, newer players that come to mind that we missed, let us know in the comments. Yeah, as
absolutely. If you're watching back afterward, make sure you tell us. Drop those comments. And if you haven't hit like yet and you're watching, hey, why haven't you done that? It's so easy. It's just clicking a button. Do that.
We discussed the terrain. I don't know if now's the time.
Well, now is where we get to we got 2 more slides. We're gonna do the terrain in just a moment. Okay. We're going to do the terrain and we're going to do additions at the very end. Because I want us to be able to look at everything that we've created and then say, is there anything we want to add on top of this? Right? Okay. Here comes the most important question. Ready? What battle plans do you use?
Sure.
Now, I listed a couple options. Core book, but you cut the battle tactics. You just say, don't worry about that part. General's Handbook, but you say just ignore the battle tactics. Thondia, but they have like a weird integration of battle tactics and are very narrative and have their own built-in battle tactics and grand strats and things like that. Or custom. Now, I've got an answer, but I want to know what you guys think. Jack, what's your thought here?
Custom. Like we're already putting in this work to like streamline the game. Just make it very, very simple. Battle plans, maybe 3 rule of 3 like we've been talking about, 3 battle plans that can kind of introduce them into what it's going to be like when they're set free from the nest.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack, on that point, so there's 3 in the core book. If you've seen, so Frontal Assault, Burn and Pillage, and Rising Power. Frontal Assault is essentially shifting objectives. 3 in the middle. So they don't have the rule of shifting objectives, but they've got the objective placement, right? And it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more. So it's very simple. And I think we're more than 9 off the line, so we're 18 between the players. So I think that one's pretty solid. And obviously you'd have to update this to take out the battle tactics, blah, blah, blah. But Burn and Pillage is like Scorched Earth style. I'm forgetting the name of what we did last year. And yeah, but it needs a little bit of updating. But again, it's 4 objectives. It's pretty. And then the last one, Rising Power. I always loved Rising Power. That one's 5 objectives. So they've got a nice escalation here: 3, 4, and 5. So yeah, for my money, these are pretty good in the core book. But yeah, you could probably still do some custom.
So here's
have you
my
taken
answer.
A look at these in the core book?
Yeah, they're good. I've played all of them. I actually like the core book ones quite a lot. As we mentioned before, the core book ones use a mechanic that I actually really love that didn't get integrated into basically any of the other battle plans. where it was like, if you hold this objective, this special objective, it counts as holding 2 objectives. Such a wonderful thing.
Yeah, Rising Power does that. Yeah.
Here's my answer. This is where George nailed it. Okay, so not that George didn't nail it in the rest of it. I actually quite like George's casual thing. Again, link down below for the imager file. I think he's got a lot of great ideas throughout. But I read over the casual battle packs battle plans, and I was like, yep.
Yeah.
That's what we need. And in my estimation, by the way, 6 is the right number. I get you, Jack. 3 is good. But I was like 6. 6 as a launch feels good to me. Just because you can roll a d6. Straight number. And that kind of gives you enough to get a little variance. For most players who are newer, who aren't playing a lot, that's fine. You know, that'll last them, honestly, a year. Because most players most casual players or new players might not play more than 6 games in a year. Or at least in a 6-month period, right? And the deployment variation he has in there is nice. They're all simple but effective. So it's like the box against the box, right? Like the box to box, corner to corner. I don't know if that's what Harrower is calling the hamburger, but I'm a fan of the hamburger, right? So top zone, bottom zone, middle 2, and then I guess this would be hot dog, I think is what he's saying. I like this description if that's what he means, which is the vertical way.
YMCA thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're perfect. They are the 3 correct deployment structures, which is box to box, corner to corner, flat on both sides, flat on both sides. Please stop printing battle packs that do this. Just please. or battle plans that do this. Can we just stop that just ever from happening again? It's the worst. And yeah, they're good. They're straightforward. Easy.
He had one thing in here. Let's see. Unit must be deployed wholly within their territory and more than 3 inches from enemy models. That is, didn't see with some of these the usual like the box, the 4 quadrant.
Sure.
The center of the battlefield, more than 9 away from the center of the battlefield. He didn't have that. So at least if I'm reading it correctly, you're literally on top of one another potentially. You can just be more than.
Gotcha. Could be. I don't know. I didn't look that deeply. I looked at their
little
layout
detail.
Like,
maybe.
Sure. But the general concept of that, like you're scoring victory points for holding, it's good. I think, by the way, something he didn't integrate this into everyone, but I think you could use the standard hold 1, hold 2, hold more. I think that's very grokkable and is like a way that I would do the battle plans. I would just cut the battle tactics, have some very minor things happening with the objectives. By that I mean like this one counts as 2 this round. Roll a d6. You got 3 objectives across the middle. This one counts as 2 this round. Okay, cool. Right? That's easy to grok, right? And that kind of thing.
Right. I think there is an argument to do what he... So like the first one, right? Spearhead. 3 objectives. It's basically in the presence of idols, but just different diagonal. So he's got the 1 victory point per that you hold, right?
Yep.
Now, Vince, if we're playing and you hold 2... you're getting 3 points. If you hold 2 with how he did it, you're getting 2 points. So that is hold 1, hold 2, hold more, right? So I do like that for the beginner, you're getting less separation in the style of the 1 victory point.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think I could go either way, and I'm fine with it. But thank you, Maximus. I appreciate that, who said his buddies and he don't enjoy the battle plans with jagged deployment zones. Completely agreed. Can we just get some easy to measure flat lines? Like why did we need to get more clever than this? What army marched onto the board in this weird harem fan shape? I like this is unnecessary. Okay. All right. Jack, is that what you're thinking, right? Like sort of 6 pretty simple deployments, simple interactions, you know.
Yep, custom 6 battle plans. I like it.
Yep. Since I didn't write 6 of those out, I'm going to rely on George to do the heavy lifting here because I only had so much time to do this.
I think Tyler has experience writing battle plans.
That's true.
May have a little bit, yeah.
Yes, I agree with George. Tetris is a great computer game, and it should stay on the computer. Yes, thank you. Absolutely correct. Let's keep those shapes where they belong. Those shapes all have names, by the way. So there you go. So you can look up those shapes' names.
It's like L.
No, they're all goofy things. They're all goofy
Where?
names. It's just like the ghosts' names in Pac-Man, right? Like it's the same thing. So.
Heck, I just, while it's in my head, I was, dude, so surprised to see war code it used for the Texas Masters. Like that was a really nice feeling. But, I'm forgetting who organized that, but just the fact that they used it to finish off that. I mean, that's one of the most competitive scenes. Anyway, it's just like really cool to see them use the battle plans for that event. So,
Well, what
yeah,
that tells me then, Tyler, is you got to write the 6 battle plans for this pack when
Yeah.
you formally
No.
release it. That's easy money right there. You get together with George, maybe the two of you have a little chat. We borrow some from him, manipulate a few, come to a new 6. There we go. Done and
I can
dusted.
tell you this, new players hate battle plans where you win automatically by having the objectives.
Absolutely.
They hate that.
Jettisoned. That's awful. Yes, agreed. None of this like you accidentally lost the game in turn 3, right? No.
You redeployed off that. I got it now. I win.
Right. Yeah, the worst. No one likes those. Stop printing them. Okay. So, very good. The Harrower says, we loved it. It was great. Organized by Matt Taylor. Cool. Fantastic.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I never mentioned on the show. I meant to mention it a month ago, and I was really. Anyway, it was just amazing to see. Yeah.
Who was the big tournament guy that you forgot his name?
Oh yeah, Gavin.
Yeah.
I know. I've taken so much crap over that. Like, I take more crap for that appropriately than anything else I've ever done in this community. I knew he was. It's just in the moment. Anyway. Yeah.
Was that Harambe guy? Whatever.
Sure. Yeah. The best there by ITC in the entire country. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Other concerns. Here's where we get into this. Now let's talk about what are the additions if we need to have some additions, okay? So now that we know what we've built, we know what's going on here. Let's do a quick review. Okay? So, we're keeping more or less the standard points and roll battlefield rolls. We're cutting allies. We're cutting reinforcement points. Instead, you can reinforce any non-single unit once. No battalions, no endless spells. We have a grand strat, one of the 3 from the core book. No battle tactics, no realm rules, no mysterious terrain. You get faction terrain as normal, and we're alternating deployment. We're keeping heroic actions. We're reducing monstrous rampages to just stompy stomp, and everybody gets a stompy stomp. Triumphs are gone. Command abilities, we cut the list down to the most intuitive and simple ones. Miscast is out of here. I mentioned the reinforcement thing. We're using our custom battle plans. Yes, Jack.
What about command abilities on your war scroll?
Sure, they can stay. Like I'm not gonna get in and mess with individual. Like if you have something that's on, that's why you could like never cut command abilities as a whole, and I would never try to do that because it's such an integral part of AoS, right?
Okay.
But yeah, like same as with the monstrous rampages, right? Like if you have one of those things, you can do it. We're just cutting the core ones that are confusing or forgetful.
I mean, I guess that raises a good point. Like Daughters of Cain, Zealous Order, Rally on a 4-up.
Gone. Don't pick it. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like we're gonna run into that stuff sometimes. You know, and that's fine. Don't pick that thing. Is all I can say. So you know, like
you'd have to do it that way because you can't allow that kind of Anyway, you'd have to do it that way.
Yeah, and the reality is that same thing happens in both a soft and hard fashion with the existing battle packs.
Sure.
Right, where they're just very hard or very softly removing or incentivizing certain units. And absolutely, George,
right.
Yeah, the Tree Lord Rampage, Monstrous Rampage stays. Like if it's printed on your scroll, like the Guo can still do his enhanced big fatty fat stomp, his Mountains of Flesh stomp.
Like Beasts of Chaos, they can still get that
yeah, they could. Yeah,
primordial call point stuff. So.
Absolutely, they can still get their primordial call points. Yes, 100%. Like I don't want to get in there at that level, right? We're talking about a general pack. It's always meant to be exception based, where your army modifies the core rules. Okay, so now let's talk about the other stuff we got to do. Terrain. Are we introducing a simplified terrain pack that includes like anything beyond what's in the core book, which is like cover, garrison, and wildwood? Right.
I would say no. Yeah, like just cover is simple enough.
Stand on the terrain, get a bonus.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
get a bonus because they're still like, no, do you lose it? Because like we're both in it. No. This if you're in cover, you get it. That's simple enough. Blocking line of sight is always good because it like you can protect yourself from being shot at, and I say keep all that stuff.
Okay.
So Jack, what about? So sometimes I still see players who will place a model where it doesn't actually sit. Right? Like the model is going to potentially fall over, or you'll be at a tournament or your local store, and someone will be like, "All right, Bellacore, he's up here, he's right here. I'm going to put a token down."
Yeah, sure.
And what are we doing about? Are we?
Well, and that's the trick, though. There's like some small version of this that feels fine, and some bad version of this that doesn't. Right? This is the problem with it, because, okay, I'll give you an easy example. I had some fulminators I dropped in a game on Saturday, and one of them was like against a building, but just like up like this. Okay, slightly. I mean, like literally he was at a 15-degree angle because I had to kind of sit him there, right? Is that like, and it's, again, we use impassable terrain at my table. This was not an impassable piece of terrain. Okay. There was just no other way for him to sit except slightly askew. But he still sat there. Like I could take my hand away. The model sat just fine. Didn't rock or fall or anything like that, and he wasn't like on top of a 3-foot-tall pillar trying to balance, So like that, at the same time, you want to allow something like that. Otherwise, things get like really, really strict, And there's weirdness to it, but here's my honest answer: I don't think new players or casual players give much of a hoot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is mostly competitive people who like abuse that or get into weird situations is my answer. Okay. I did have somebody hit me up on Discord and ask that very question. They were like, "Hey, this thing happened," and I didn't like. His opponent had just like put his Maw Crusher on top of some, a couple pillars and was like, "No, but this is where my model is, and now I'm going to attack you." And he was like, "You can't do that," right? And they kind of discussed it and didn't know what the answer was. And I was like, "No, you're by the base rules. Your opponent was correct. He can do that, right?" And he couldn't believe it. It blew his mind. Now he's a newer player, so there's a time where exactly what you're describing, right? So, and I don't, like I said, I don't just want to frame this only for new players. It should be new players and players who want a more streamlined experience. Right? So where the streamlined experience is valuable. So the question is, by adding that stuff, are we streamlining the experience or adding complexity? What are we actually doing?
So for my money, I mean, Vince, you know this, we've talked about it over the years. This might be the one that I've always found the strangest. They have never addressed throughout 3 editions of this game, 7 years, they haven't addressed this. It's so simple. You did it in your skirmish game. Yep. And you can do it in different ways, but the basic concept: if it can't fit, it don't sit, or however you want to say it.
Yes, if it sits, it fits. It
fits, yes.
Okay.
And
what that means is if I can put the model down on whatever the surface is and do that, and take my hand away, and it just stays there. No other activity necessary, no dice balancing, no BS, right?
Nonsense.
If I can set it there and it sits, it fits. End of discussion. Otherwise, no.
To me, I have seen a lot of nonsense. New, intermediate, and experienced, all levels over the 7 years, because they've never fixed this in the core rules.
Yep.
And so I do think it would be useful to have a simple one sentence you just said. It is very grokkable, very understandable, and it would remove any potential for silliness.
What are we adding here? Like, are we trying to, like, that feels like a big change if we're going to add it, if it sits, it fits thing, right? So are you suggesting that, or are you suggesting we add impassable a thing that does already exist in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
They just
right.
didn't bother to write it into the core rules.
Sure.
Right? Into this pack and
Impassable
say
would go a
terrain may be
very-
dedicated as impassable or maybe dominated as
Yeah.
impassable. Impassable terrain, your models can't go on it or end to move on it. They may fly over it as normal. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that would go a very long way. Yeah. Where, again, defensible, impassable, obscuring are the three keywords that we should have in this game. That gives you everything. So you could do one terrain piece can only have one keyword. Now you're like, I mean, that feels like the right answer ultimately. Oh, we did this at Vault Wars, right, Vince? We had
Yep.
introduced two rules. We had a rule of thumb, which is basically yours, but I did this weird thing of sort of weird, but it was very effective. If the terrain piece has more than 4 inches, if it's more than 4 inches vertically, you cannot get on it. But under 4, you're fine. But that's kind of weird, but it's very good and practical for experienced players. You can explain that, and you're good to go. Yeah. Defensible, obscuring, impassable. That's probably the key thing if you're wanting to actually address this. Would address it. But I don't know. What do you think, Jack? I'm talking a lot about this.
Oh yeah, I think keeping the training rules is good. Just explaining them, make sure people use them. But that is something that needs to be addressed because when you ask me, I'm just like, I usually don't play with flyers, and so, but it is definitely a big thing. So I would like to keep the terrain rules because, like you said, like Vince pointing something out that I wasn't really thinking. Like this isn't just for new players; it's people who also want to streamline stuff. And this, like adding this, would make it less streamlined, but it still needs to be part of the game, and it's a crucial thing. Because we are fighting on a battlefield, and terrain does take place in this, magical warfare, which is it.
Right.
It's a magical warfare game.
Final thought on that. To me, Vince, I would go with what was it again? If it doesn't sit,
if it sits, it fits.
It fits. Yes. I would do that personally.
That's a big change. Sure, I get it. I think the middle ground that I would come to here is to formally add impassable and let people nominate things as impassable. And the reason that I picked that one is the reason I would come down on that side is because I think that does streamline things. My point being is if you can look at it, like we're going to keep all the rest of the stuff. Like we're keeping garrisonable and cover and all that kind of thing. Because of course that's just part of the game and it feels right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason I like impassable is because, one, as I said, it does already exist. It's not like I'm cutting something from whole cloth here, right? If somebody plays the pizza cutter, that's an impassable piece of terrain. You can't sit on it or land on it, right? Mm-hmm. Gnaw holes are impassable, all this kind of stuff, right? So, like, that already exists, and being able to nominate terrain is like, you can't land and do BS on this, right? It simplifies things because you don't have people trying to go like, well, actually I'm up here.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Like it doesn't add everything. They can nominate their terrain if they want. Jack, what do you think about that as a compromise? It's like allow the players to also say some of this stuff on this table is impassable.
Yeah, I really did. I think it was LVO last year where it's like you got to, assign. You all rolled dice and you would sign the stuff. And I think the maybe the defender or whatever can do it, but 2 had to be impassable, 2 had to be garrisonable, and 2 had to be wildwoods.
Gotcha. I hate that they called it wildwoods and not just obscuring, but yes, it's the worst choice.
That brings up another thing real quickly, which I just wanted to come with terrain. The way that the battle plans right now are written, right, is assuming we're not at a tournament. We're playing. We're new players at your store, and we roll up. How are we setting up terrain? We like the battle plans in the GHB. They tell us that one of us is setting up terrain, right, and the other one gets to pick the side. Are we just doing that, or what are we doing? How are we setting up terrain?
I think I do like that because it gives the, if you put all the stuff on one side, the other person can pick that side. Sure. So it definitely makes you want to even it out. So that still works. or you can just like a kind of like agree on it. That's what we usually do on the channel. We just agree on it. Like, this look good.
Right.
All right, let's
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, I don't know that there's ever that many arguments about terrain at most tables. I think most people probably use the method you're talking about, Jack. Like, I watch I watch the battle reports at the beginning. I see you guys both moving around the table, putting stuff down, and then going like, yeah, that's fine. And then, like, everybody just agrees, right? I think you could do an alternating setup for terrain as well, right? So it's like, you put one down, I put one down, and we go to 8 pieces or whatever it says on the chart. You know what I mean? Like, that's fine too, because then it's, everybody kind of alternates the setup. I don't hate that either as a concept. It's pretty fair. You're going to alternate drops. Why not alternate the terrain, right?
Sure.
It feels thematically similar. Yeah. Okay, how does everybody feel if we go alternate terrain placement, add impassable to selection of terrain types, include all existing? How do we feel about that?
Probably fine. I mean, again, I don't know if we necessarily need to change the way that it's done currently with terrain, but in general, it usually doesn't matter anyway.
Sure.
That is, the way that the battle plans are written is a particular way, and yeah, like we got in this in a conversation with West Coast Tom. Gareth, I think with his events, he generally follows the rules as written with how it works, and
sure,
which I understand. But anyway, yeah, that's probably fine.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we all know the right answer here is GW should actually write good terrain rules. Stop ignoring this very critical element of the game that you've just decided not to write any passable rules about for 8 years. Sure. Okay, cool. Anything else that we would need to talk about, to change, to contemplate here? Anything else that you might want to add in? Go.
We brought it up earlier. The awesome role for the Galician veterans fighting in 2 ranks.
Yes.
I do like that. I think it's. Hopefully that continues in the next, iteration.
Good callback. Thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, but Jack, here becomes the question. I love that rule. I think it's a great rule. I think it does speed up the game a lot and make it intuitive to people. Okay. But the question is, 1, are we setting them up then for a bad expectation when they play a different battle pack and suddenly that isn't a rule anymore, and all those types of sort of, I don't know what I want to say, like all of a sudden they're like, oh, now I need to learn a whole new subsystem for measurement, and all my units that I thought were good suck. Whatever. I agree with you, by the way, that should just be an evergreen rule. But the question is, if we keep it, what's the limitation? Is there a limitation on it, or are we just like jettisoning the range rules completely and say you can just 2-rank fight now, enjoy yourself? Are we doing it for a particular size? Because that one's naturally restricted to Galatian veterans, right? But there's no Galatian veteran concept here.
Yeah.
Right.
So right. What are we actually doing to get this in the game?
We can use the Galatian veteran like rules and just saying if you're 4 wounds or less, battle line, not mounted, and just not call it Galatian veterans. Just if you fit those 3 criteria, then you can fight within half an inch of half an inch. We can call it whatever we want, but just use the same rules, because I think it could be too powerful. And I was playing what is it? The alternate build for the Wrathmongers. Was it Skull Takers?
Skull Reapers?
Skull Reapers. Yeah, I was playing those and I was like, I wish so bad there were Galatian veterans.
Yeah.
There would be so many dice if I read them in 10. And so I think they've done their due diligence and saw like what units they work with. Because I just remember I have so many more bloodletters now. And it's like to go back into only fighting with 5 of them, I'd be so sad.
Sure, so, they're great right now.
Yeah.
Sure,
Even corn in general, just a lot of corn. Blood Reavers.
A lot of corn benefits from that rule in a big way, right? And we all love it. We all think it makes the game better.
Yes,
right.
And I think it's not like a difficult thing where we're trying to make this simple. I think it makes the game simple where you're fighting within half inch of a guy within half inch. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm fighting with all my guys rather than the
Sure.
5 up front.
Well, then that's my point. Is there a value here to eliminating the sort of, so like we could just jack in the Galatian veteran concept without calling them GVs, right? Like we could just say any unit that has a wounds characteristic of 4 or less and is battle line can fight in 2 ranks, blah blah blah, has this rule, right? That we could do that. All right. But at the same time, we could also have a completely different take on it, where the take could be what could the take be? It could just be like, well, George mentioned this version earlier. For each 1 inch of range, you can fight through 1 friendly model or something like that, right? You could go that kind of direction. You could go the direction of just like any troop can do this. You could really expand it out, right? Where it's like everybody that is a troop gets access to this rule instead of the normal range, meaning you're not a behemoth, you're not a artillery, you're not a leader, right? Which means everybody's freaking doing it at that point, right? Everybody who would want access to this has access to this. That's like blowing it wide open.
I would worry about the balance of that.
You could say anybody who doesn't have a mount or something
We
like
did
that.
we did a mega battle a couple years ago, and they had the rules for this, and it was like everybody in the unit fights,
Sure.
and it was just everybody in the unit fights. But they actually went further on. Everybody in the unit, both units fight at full capacity, and then you roll all your things, and then the aftermath. I don't think we need to do that, but it's just another option.
Sure. Yeah. Like, I think giving them some kind of estimate of like how this functions. I think there's a lot of good and bad on both sides of this. Like, Coach raises a good point, which is like, I don't like it because I'm teaching someone in November, then December rolls around, the GV stuff disappears, it's confusing to new players and skews the way they look at the game in units, which is true.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's also true. My concern with this thing is it's so ephemeral right now. I like it so much in what it does for the ease of play, but I don't know that I can rely on it sticking around. And it really bothers me that it's not just a thing in the core rules. Right?
Well, I was getting at that there's balance issues as well. You want to have to look at carefully. Like Kurnoth Hunters with great swords now up in value. Because if you're doing this in general with troops, I mean, there are a lot of examples we could look at that could have real balance issues. But yeah, I think it's probably not something. To me, it's also along the lines of talking about wanting to introduce, if it sits, it fits, or whatever. My brain can't get that right. If it fits, it sits. Yeah, we're making a pretty big core rules change, and I get why you don't necessarily want to do that, even if it would improve the game, even if it's one of the things that they should have done by now. I don't know. It's tricky, but probably not for me.
This one is, to me, the closest to 50-50 we've had, right? Because you can see all the benefits, but there's also so many downsides. It's just like the scales are just bouncing back and forth right here, right? And I don't know what to do with it. If this was just a concept in the core game, then I'd be like, great, we're all perfect, we don't even have this discussion, right?
Sure.
We're good, right? At the same time, it's like reach and weapon range and stuff like that is so integral. It's often built into points costs. It's part of, some armies have special abilities with it, like Wardens having a 3-inch reach is a big deal, right? Yep. Skaven getting bonus reach is a big deal, right? So, but at the same time, exactly what you said, Jack, like it really sucks to play Bloodletters without this rule, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where there's such good and bad. I honestly am not sure I have an answer for it. I think when I'm that close, I would err on the side of caution. Right? Like when it's that close and we can see so many good and bad to it, the right answer is to be conservative and say, okay, let's not do it. Let's use the base stuff. We could always circle back and drop it in if we felt like
I think
it was
especially
such a drag.
especially for this, It's more introductory oriented.
Yeah. I mean, but the to me, the point of the thing is, when you're not sure, you just go, okay, well then let's not do it, right? Because we don't, all the unknown unknowns to that are going to cause problems, right? And it is, we know we're adding more complexity. At the same time, we are buying some simplification, but we don't know how that balance works out, so we don't throw it in there.
Sure.
Okay. All right, but it's good discussion. Like, I could easily see people wanting to have it in here, and I wouldn't be like, you're crazy. Right? I would personal take, leave it out. But if somebody said, I want to put it in, okay, knock yourself out. Like, I'm not fighting you on that. I get it. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Like, I think these are things that kind of are part of the game. So, it needs to be fixed anyway. But just like coherency and pile-in, those are things that this is something people are going to need to learn. Like, pile-in can be like tricky, coherency can be tricky, but like it's not going to be. We're not trying to change the game that much. This is a core thing. It'd be like trying to change like a priority roll. Like, no, it's part of the game. You may not like it, but.
Yeah, the Harrower mentioned priority a few times, and to me, it is just such a core part of the game that, like, priority being a thing in AoS, it simply is a thing you need to learn. And, like, yeah, I know it's going to push some players out because they just can't handle the roll for priority thing. I get that, but it is a core part of the game, and if you can't, like, that, it is intrinsic to AoS, and if that's going to be a break for you, then AoS isn't the game for you.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say there.
And I've played so much AoS. Like, I tried to learn 40K like a couple times. I had a guy teaching me, and I'm like, I was playing, and I was like, the only way I have a chance to win is if I could W turn you right now. And that was like, and it gave me new appreciation for priority roll.
Yeah,
interesting.
Like, it has a lot of good, a lot of bad, of course. Like, I'm not going to make this a priority roll discussion, but again, when in absence of evidence of extreme benefit, I default to the existing core rules, and that's part of the existing core rules. It's like it is printed in the DNA of the game, right? Whereas the fight an extra half an inch battle bond thing is not, right? So you leave that out, you keep the other one in. That's what I would say. Okay. Yeah. What else? Anything else?
Are we actually doing this? We actually gonna?
Yeah, I mean, I did most of the heavy lifting for you here, Tyler. Now you just gotta take this and format it out.
Yep. Might know of a few amazing designers in the community. We just might have a few hanging around.
Absolutely. I'm saying, like, this is. I think that this should be a thing that we actually bring to bear and make available to people. Yes.
Hey, look, if you make the battle plan, I will do a battle report on it.
Oh, love you. All right.
There you go.
Okay, I'm sold. All right, George, if you're still listening, you and I need to talk. We need to talk.
Yeah, we'll coordinate. Like,
absolutely.
There we go. I think we got a plan. So we'll figure it out. We'll get this together. This needs a letter C in it. And I'm just now noticing I've been sitting there with other Canerns on the screen for like a half hour. How fun of me. At any rate, yeah, there you go. Good stuff. What did we miss? What did we leave out? What's your opinion? What would you do differently for the Streamline Simplified Battle Pack? But yes, I very much want to see us release this, put a version of this thing out. Of course, Tyler, I am willing to help and pitch in as well.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to reach out to Rob. I need to watch that show. I never did.
Yep.
Just show and hear what all they were thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, George, just hit us up, man. Just hit Tyler on Twitter or myself on Twitter or something. It's easy. At Scrubby and Wells. But yes, we should.
Not 2B.
Yes, 1B. Yeah, hit us up, my dog. It's great work you did here. Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, if we missed anything, tell us. Otherwise, just hit like. Jack, you're the man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure having you on. Rerolling Ones is linked down below. If you're not already subscribed to Rerolling Ones, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah,
You're missing out.
We're headed for 20,000. We just hit 19. Trying to get 20,000 for the end of the year. Go down, like and subscribe. We're putting out more content. So we're hibernating.
We're trying to get to 20,000 before the end of the year, folks. Let's get to 20,000 before the end of the month. Okay, let's do this. Come on. Come on. Go sub to Rerolling Ones. They're an amazing group of great guys giving you the best battle reports around. I gotta say this, I really do love the way you do your battle reports, and I'll tell you what it is. You cut the movement out. It's why I watch every one of your battle reports, but often skip other people's. You cut the movement out. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Glad. Thank you.
It is
I thought, it was the banter, it was the camaraderie, but no, it's the movement phase. Sweet. Yeah.
No, look, you guys are great. You play great. It's always fun to hear you talk back and forth, but you cut the movement phase, and that's what sold me. Okay, everybody's got their own value props.
There you go. There we go.
Awesome. Very good. Their channel's linked down below. Go hit that. Give them a sub. By the way, if you're watching this and you haven't subbed over here, hey, why not click that button too? YouTube's super fun and all of that's free. If you want to actually pay some money to support this channel, you can do that too. There is a Patreon link down below focused on the hobby. Let's say you're an amazing painter like Tyler, but you want to take your steps, your next steps in the hobby journey. You can do that right down there. Join an awesome Discord full of enthusiastic hobbyists.
Also, you can be like me. I'm one of the patrons.
Absolutely. Jack's in. Why aren't you in? Yeah, don't you want to be like Jack?
There is no Rerolling Ones. He's my AoS Sherpa. He led me to the promised land. And he was one of my, I was just Googling, why does everybody hate AoS when I was getting back in the hobby? And this guy was everywhere. And so I started watching. It was great.
That's amazing. There's also a merch store down there. Don't forget to show your support for Team Tom or Team Tyler. We're running until the end of the year to see who comes out the best, who is the better co-host. We will decide through capitalism, of course, the only way that all things are decided in our society. All inherent value is apparently measured. Other than that, Jack, like I said, thank you so much, brother. It is always a pleasure to hang out with you. I am sure I will see you at a tournament or something upcoming soon. But for all of you out there, thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it. And as always,